to present.
Yep. Every single time, every class that I've done so far today, every class that I do on any of the morning Zoom meetings, every presentation I go into, buyer presentation, seller presentation, I do something that's just different. I have a set of statements I'm telling myself. I have music that I'm listening to. I'm changing my focus, changing my body, changing my mind. Because typically, what do we think? When you're going into a presentation, you're thinking of all the things that I need to do this, I got to do that, I should do this. Maybe I forgot this. Did I have that right? Just clear all that out. Pump your energy up. Get your state changed a little bit. Let's get to a higher level, higher frequency, because you're going to present a hell of a lot better. I just need some energy in here, baby.
That's right. That's right. That's right. All right. So what are we talking about today is presenting, the presentation process itself. So what we're going to do is I'm going to click a couple buttons here and I'm going to share my screen and bam, bam, and bam, bam. Oops, that's not what I don't need to insert any images there. Okay. All right. So here's the deal. Kind of what we're just talking about, your thoughts on listing property. Okay, because this is what we're doing. This is not a social visit. This is designed to show up and get a contract signed. Okay, you've been building rapport all the time, getting ready for this moment. This is the kill time. This is the go time. This is the end. A close is a natural end to a brilliant presentation. Now, our presentation starts with hello when you talk to a FSBO, and it might have been 7 weeks ago, right? That's how this relationship started. And you might have said, screw you, Chris. I don't ever need an agent. Goodbye, click, hang up, right? And then Chris called back next week, called back next week, drop off the FSBO guide, called back next week, knocked on the door, gave him something else, did this. And then 2 months later, he came, hey, Chris, what's up, man? And hey, Chris, why don't you come over? You know, we're kind of getting discouraged. Why don't you come over and talk with me a little bit? And that's 2 months later, right? So the presentation has built up to this point, okay? And there's no presentation yet, right? This is the time. When the appointment gets set, it's now go time. So it's about mastering this presentation, mastering it, making sure it's an autopilot, and accelerate your energy, accelerate your enthusiasm while you're building rapport, because you don't want to go show up to Myrtle's house where she's low energy and say, hey, how you doing, Myrtle? Let's go. I'm so fired up. Let's go. Let's talk about when you're moving, right? That's going to freak her out. So you got to stay congruent the whole way through, but you still can have great energy while being congruent, right, with their energy sources as well. Upgrade their responses.
Yeah, like we talked about the other day, your energy will precede you. So if you show up into an appointment and your energy's low, or you're disappointed, or you're thinking about something that happened earlier that day that you were pissed off about, that energy will precede you. So that's why you elevate your energy. Get on a different level, get on a different vibration. That way, that is the energy that precedes you when you get there, and they feel good and excited about you being there, not anxious or pissed off or angry like you felt earlier. Let's just take it up a notch. They deserve the best. Give them the best.
That's right. All right. So there's a couple things we're going to do here today. I'm going to move agency to this one. Strategic marketing presentation. This is a video, right? And I want to play this, and I want to play this for a reason, because I want to time it. What this is the listing pre-qualification, through the listing presentation, through the strategic pricing, the SPA presentation, through the closing cost estimator. This is everything from the pre-qual, the presentation, going through pricing, and going through the signature, right? And I want you to watch this, because the entire thing start to finish is so concise. And this is everything encompassed. And then we're going to dissect it when we're done, okay? Yeah, and then we're going to go through the marketing plan after that. Yes. Oops. Hang on, wait a second, back up. Bum, bum, bum. They wanted me to go this one first, which I don't want to do yet. All right, let me take this off.
All right, I just set an appointment yesterday with a FSBO that I've been working on for a while. So this is the scene setup. And here we go. So pretend I just put you on speaker, ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello, Jonathan.
Yes.
It's Jeff Began, Century 21. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Listen, just calling to confirm our appointment for tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Does that time still work for you and Hannah?
Absolutely.
Absolutely perfect here. In order to make the really most efficient use of our time, Jonathan, I need to confirm some information, ask you a couple questions, all right?
Sure.
If what I say makes sense tomorrow, and you and Hannah feel confident and comfortable that we can actually sell your home, are you planning to hire Century 21 Beggars when I come out tomorrow at 3?
Yes.
Yes, great. Jonathan, are you interviewing more than one agent for the job of selling the home?
I am. Yes.
You are? Okay, it's always good to do that. Who are you interviewing by chance?
I have a Remax agent named Alex Smith
Okay.
and a boutique agent named Alice Marie.
Alice, okay, excellent. Excellent. And I've already obviously seen your house. We've been chatting for a few months together. So I really appreciate the opportunity. I know I can do a great job for you. Will all the decision makers be at our meeting? I want to make sure I bring enough information for everybody.
Yes.
Is it just you and Hannah?
Mhm.
Okay. And tell me again, Jonathan, where are you moving to?
Madeira Beach.
Madeira Beach. So much action going on in that town right now. Pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Perfect world. What would be the ideal date to close this sale and get this house sold?
3 months from this date.
3 months from now. Okay, so we're working with one. Okay, 3 months from now. Got it. What do you feel? Let me ask you a question about that. Why 3 months from now? What's going on?
My wife will be having a baby. We'd like to upgrade the size of our house. Her due date is next month, so we want to make sure that we plan ahead.
Okay.
And get all that squared away. And when we have the baby, move into the new house.
Excellent. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
So having the baby, want to upgrade size a little bit and be able to buy the house, have the baby, get the house ready, and then move in once the baby's here.
Right.
So get the nest ready and move in, which is kind of a little bit of the least amount of stress you can have, right?
Right.
Got it. Okay. What do you feel the approximate value of the property is, Jonathan?
1.6.
1.6. Okay. And do you plan to hire Century 21 Beggars to sell it at that price?
Yes.
Okay. Do you need to sell this property in order to make the move?
Yes.
You do? Okay. Here's an interesting question for you. Will your plans change if you can't get your price for the property?
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about that. What happens if we can't get to your 1.6?
We will not be able to move.
You'll not be able to move. Okay. Have you already found a place?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Have you already bought it? Or are you just looking?
We have not bought it. We're still looking, but we've settled in the price range about 1.8.
Okay, so you kind of know where you're moving. You're kind of looking. Once we get finished with this, I hope you're going to love the way I conduct myself in business. I'd love to interview for the job to be your buyer's rep too. On that, but we'll get there one step at a time.
Great.
And how much do you owe on the property now?
Free and clear.
Free and clear. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now you're in a great spot. Will you help finance the home for the buyer, or do you want to take all your cash out to the next property?
We need the cash for the next property.
Okay, you're gonna put it all in the next property. Got it. Now, I've obviously seen the house, but I'd love to know from your perspective. Just describe the house for me in your words.
It was built in 2005. 3-bedroom or 3-bathroom, 5.
5 bed, 3 baths, right?
There we go. New updated kitchen, also updated master bathroom.
Okay, kitchen and master bathroom. Very cool. All right. So I hear the kitchen and the master bath. Is that what the most recent improvements were to the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are any other improvements needed from your perspective?
No, sir.
Okay. Knowing what you know about your property and the neighborhood, let's talk about the neighborhood first. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the overall condition of your property?
A 9.
A 9? Okay. I agree with you. Now, what do you think would make it a 10?
The backyard needs a little bit of work. The seawall is a little dated. It's not falling apart. There's nothing wrong with it. I just feel that it could match the house a little bit better.
Okay. Backyard needs a little bit of work. Seawall, there's nothing wrong with it, but it might match the house a little better if it's kind of upgraded with a new cap and those type of things you're talking about.
Yes.
Is there anything else I should know before I come out?
No, sir.
All right. You have any questions for me?
Not at the moment.
All right. Here's really important, Jonathan. I'm going to be sending over to you a link to a really cool brief presentation. It's about 5-6 minutes long. And I really need you and Hannah to watch it. It's going to really show you from a marketing perspective what we're going to do to get your property sold. And it's going to save us about an hour and a half tomorrow that we don't have to go through this. So will you and Hannah please take the time and watch that for me?
Sure.
I can either text you a link or I can email it to you. How do you prefer?
Email it to me, please.
Email it. Okay. Let me confirm your email. What is it?
JonathanScott@abc.com.
JohnScottABC.com. Okay, great. I'm also going to send you a link. You'll notice to something in a program called Dotloop, and because I appreciate your attention to detail. And this is a package that has our listing contract in it, all of our disclosures, some marketing materials, and just a lot of things that we're going to have to go through. So you have the time to go through this in advance if you have any questions. All right.
Okay.
And I really appreciate you taking the time, Jonathan. It's going to make our meeting so much more productive tomorrow. So I
Great.
look forward to seeing you and Hannah at 3 o'clock. And we're going to go over marketing and a kind of positioning, how we're going to position a house in the market.
Sounds good.
All right. See you tomorrow. Call me if you have any questions.
Will do.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
So that was 6 minutes. So let's talk about that for a second, Chris. So 6 minutes was over the phone. The script is in front of me. I'm going line by line. I'm going word for word. What other stuff did you notice from that one that we want to make sure everybody picked out?
I took a lot of notes, just like you were taking a lot of notes. That's a very important thing. Take notes, write down. Every time I watch this and we go through it, I like to pick them out as we go because I want to be able to pull those out and remind myself. It makes me better for the next time I teach it or I do it. So yeah, taking notes. You have the script in front of you. You have it right there. Read the script, ask the question, repeat and affirm, and then you write the answers down. That way you don't forget it. And on top of that, just a simple thing with tonality, at the end of nearly every single sentence, downswing, 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 instilling confidence. And you could tell on the other side with the responses, even though you and Jonathan do know each other, you can tell the level of confidence and comfort just continued to flow and actually got greater.
Repeating and approving, like pretty much everything he said, I repeated back and approved everything he said. I didn't agree necessarily with everything, but notice what we're doing. Everything in our presentation is asking questions. Question, 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 question. Answer, repeat, approve. It's the law of reciprocity, right? So if you and I are having a conversation and you're just getting nothing but positive feedback on everything that you're saying to me, you want this communication to continue. So it's going that way. So if he is presenting or has another agent presenting to him, what do you think the odds are that they're going to do this type of a pre-qual before they show up? Like what percentage of the agents?
I would probably say less than 10% probably less than 5%. I mean, because when you start looking at the numbers, probably, 20% of the agents are actually out there working and doing the right things. And I would say probably less than half of them, about 25% of them are actually going through specific processes like this that are scripted every single time. The rest of the people they're more winging it. So it sets a tone. And I think what you guys covered in the last class and what you did just before this pre-qual was letting them know, hey, this is how I handle my business. So you took that right from the start. This is how I handle my business. This is how we do this. This is how I handle that. I like to schedule the call. And then you're taking control of that, but allowing them to have the control when you ask the questions. So it's a really delicate process of back and forth.
Right. Okay, so that's 6 minutes. So what I'm going to play now, it rolls right into the listing presentation. And then I might stop it a couple ways through to digest it and just kind of talk about it. So this is at the 6 minute mark. So there's 11 minutes total from this point to the signature. Okay, and this is me showing up at their house, doing the listing presentation line by line, word for word. Guys, take the pressure off yourself. You're going to notice I walk in and the script is in front of me. I know the script. I can recite it in my sleep, right? Still, the presentation is right in front of me. We have every excuse to have it right in front of us because we're saying, I wrote down a couple real important questions for you guys, and I reference it and I look at it and it keeps me on track, right? So there's no shame, right, in having a script in front of you. I'd be really pissed if my attorney walked into court and didn't have a legal pad full of notes. I'd be really disappointed if my doctor came in and just made shit up without looking at a chart, right? You want to make sure that people or professionals know what they're doing and stay on track with the largest financial transactions. So let's walk through this and then we'll dissect this one as we go through. So here is the actual listing presentation. And these are scripts or all our agents that's in your script package, right? It's on your app. We have all of these on our Century 21 Beggins app. All of our scripts are there from a PDF perspective to read. All of our audio scripts. We went in the studios and we recorded every one of these from an audio perspective. You can download it to your iTunes, wherever you want to do it for your MP3, and just play through, play, and just internalize these scripts. So that's the whole point. So here we go. Let's go to the listing presentation.
Okay, 6 minutes. 6 minutes of the most important 6 minutes of my career because the way that worked just set me up completely. And here we go. So here we are at the house. Knock, knock, knock. How you doing, Jonathan? Hannah, how you doing? Thanks for having me over, guys. Like I was telling you, you'll be really pleasantly surprised. This is only taking between 5 and 25 minutes, right?
Okay.
Let's go have a seat at the kitchen table.
Okay.
All right. Jonathan, Hannah, I wrote down a couple questions. I like this, how I run my business. I want to make sure that we kind of hit everything for you. So I wrote down 3 really important questions for you. All right. Number 1, have you guys absolutely decided to sell this property?
Yes,
The move is happening, baby's happening, everything's good, so we're ready to move. Got it.
absolutely. Mhm.
Second question, will you price your property to sell? Will we position this property to sell versus the competition, or do we want to position it so it sits on the market for a long time?
We would like it to sell.
We'd like it to sell, okay. And the third question, and it's totally okay to say yes to this one, is do you want Century 21 Beacons to handle the sale for you?
Yes, if all goes well, absolutely.
Yes, if all goes well. Okay, good. Well, Hannah, at the end of this presentation, really 1 of 3 things is going to happen, right? Number 1 is everything's going to work out well, and you'll have the opportunity to hire Century 21 Beacons. And the second thing is, for whatever reason, you'll decide not to hire Century 21 Beacons. And the third one is we won't really decide to market your property. And the only reason that'll happen is if we can't come to agreement on price and terms. Does that make sense?
Understood.
Okay, cool. And anyone is fine, the way it works out. All right, so let me review the questions I asked you over the phone. You guys said you're moving to Madeira Beach, right?
Yes.
Okay. And 3 months from now, you were saying it's kind of the ideal date to close the sale. And baby will be here. You'll have time to set up the nest over there. Life will be good. That's kind of the strategy you guys want.
Yes.
Okay. And you'd like to price your property around 1.6 million. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you owe nothing on it. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. And you did not want to hold seller finance. You want to take all the cash with you.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm right there. Now, did you guys have a chance to watch that little presentation I sent over to you last
We
night?
did.
You did? Excellent. What did you think about it? What was your favorite part? What stood out to you?
Hannah and I were very impressed with the language and different languages. This could be, our listing could be given.
Okay, so how our global translation team kind of converts into all the different languages and currencies and that stuff?
Yes.
Why is that important to you? What did you think that was cool?
We have family everywhere.
Okay.
And just, getting it out there. We're, of course, on social media. We're going to be sharing the listing with our family and hopefully maybe
All
some
right.
family friends might want
Which
to
countries
follow.
are they in?
Norway, Germany,
How cool?
Philippines.
Norway, Germany, Philippines. That's so cool. You know what's really cool about that is we've got the Century 21s all over there too. So they're going to kind of appreciate the fact that you really do have a global powerhouse. And I like that. I like that answer there.
Very cool.
And Hannah, what was your favorite part? You like the agency? A lot of people never bring that up. So I'm glad that brings up to you because guys, this is one of the largest financial transactions in your life, right? And it just blows my mind sometimes that people don't understand how important having somebody really legally have your back really makes a lot of sense for you. So I'm glad that stood out to you. So there's really only 2 issues we need to look at here tonight. Number 1 is your motivation to sell the property, which I believe we have it pretty well established here. And the second one is the price and how we position your property. So it's important that you guys understand these are the only 2 issues in selling real estate today, right?
Okay.
Motivation and price. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And that's it. So what I've done is I prepared, remember the strategic pricing analysis? And before we go through it, just kind of understand there's really 2 parts to this research. Part 1, I kind of call fantasy land, and it's what some homeowners list their homes for, and they really never sell at all. And the second part is reality, Hannah, and that's what great agents like me list and actually sell homes for. So what 3 of us are going to have to do tonight is decide where we're going to spend our time. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So the purpose of this analysis here is to determine the value of your home. So do you guys know how the buyers are determining value right now?
We do not know.
Well, you're doing it right now when you're looking around for houses in Madeira Beach. You're
Okay.
looking at the features and benefits of the homes that are on the market versus the prices of the homes that are on the market. And you're
Okay.
kind of seeing which one has the most value for you. So what we found is if you want to increase your value for the property, you either have to do 1 of 2 things. You either have to add more features and benefits or reduce the price, right? So unless you guys are adding more things to the house, are you guys planning on doing anything more to the house?
No, sir.
No? Okay, great. Then really price is our only issue. So let's take a look at this for a second. Let's look here together. There's 3 parts to this as we talked about. The first one is what buyers can pay. And these are our active competition, competitors on the market right now. And I picked the top 5 because the person who's going to look at this house is going to be looking at these as well.
I'm going to pause for 1 second here. because we've set the stage for presentation. Now, this is it. Now watch who determines the price, right? And watch who doesn't determine the price. More importantly, it's not me. We do not ever touch the price. We don't ever set the price. We have nothing to do with the price. It's completely them. And watch how this works. There's 3 questions I ask in each of these sections. What's the most expensive? What's the least expensive? What's the most similar to yours? And that's allowing them to set the stage in their own mind about where they think that this house should be priced. So watch how this is done.
And then this second section is what buyers did pay. These are the ones that sold most recently that are like yours. The reason why this is important, Hannah, is because the appraiser is going to take a look at this when they approve the loan for the next buyer. And this last part here is what buyers refused to pay. These were sellers that are a little bit starry-eyed, and the market rejected what they wanted for their property.
Okay.
So let's look at these one by one. So Jonathan, take a look at this first section, what buyers can pay. This is our active competition. So I've got 3 questions for you. What is the most expensive property that we're competing with right now?
1.8.
The 1.8. Okay. Hannah, what's the least expensive one? That's right, 1.3. And what's the, Jonathan, back to you. Let's look at year built, square footage, bedroom, baths. What do you think the most similar home for you to your house is right now?
That price? Probably 1.5.
This one here, 1.5 over on Oak Street,
Yeah.
right? So I'm just going to circle that as the most similar. Do you agree with me, Hannah? Okay, so let's go to the next one. What's the most expensive house that has sold most like your property?
The 1.7.
1.7 over here. Hannah, this one, what's the least expensive property that is sold in that the appraiser is going to look at? Yeah, 1.2. And back to you, Jonathan. Look at the size and the year builds and all that together. Take a second. And which one do you think is the one most similar to yours?
Looks like the 1.4 over on 123 any.
The one over on Any Street, 1.4. Okay, I'm going to circle that one too. Now, just for fun, let's look at the one that the market refused, the buyers refused to pay. What was the most expensive one that people tried to get there?
1.9.
1.9 over on Oakberry. And then the least expensive one, Hannah, was what? Yep, 1.3. And the one most similar to yours that expired, which one do you think that one was?
Looks like the listing at 1.7.
Yep, this one over on Elm, right there for 1.7. Okay, so this is really important because I think what you're starting to see is kind of what the market is saying out here in the market. So if we look at this part here, this is what we call the estimate of seller's closing cost. And then Hannah, look at the bottom for a second. I've got a range of prices here. You can see I start, this says what, 1.75 down to 1.45. This is the range, guys. I think you kind of will agree with me that somewhere in there is where a house is going to sell for.
Right.
So what we need to do is strategically figure out where we're going to position somewhere in this range. Now, Hannah, what does that say on the bottom right there? Fast. What does that one say?
Slow.
Slow. And what's this in the middle? Quickly. Now, this is going to put a little bit less in your pocket, but we're going to be out of here quickly. If you go all the way over here, we'll probably be talking about a contract in the next week or two, which isn't what we need to do. But if you want to wait here, we want to get further on this side, it's going to take a lot longer. And the average days on the market in this marketplace, as you can see, was about 4.5 months, or almost 5 months. So if we price somewhere in the middle of these ranges, we're going to take about that time is what the market is telling us it takes to sell. And you were kind of saying maybe 3 months-ish you wanted to be. So any one of these answers is totally fine with me, guys, because you're the only ones that really know when you want to be living in Madeira Beach and sold on this one. So take a look at what you put in your pocket on the slow side, on the fast side, on the average side. You'll notice it's really not that big of a difference. And it's the time value, money, and lifestyle that's important to you. So now that you've seen this range and these prices, where do you guys want to get started?
We could probably, I mean, of course, we'd like to do the 3, but as on a numbers scale and a numbers game, we'd like to take this and move it and take cash, move it into the next house. So we would be willing to work more closer to the average.
Okay. So Hannah, do you agree with that? Okay. So where do you think? So average somewhere between 175 and 145. You could see this is somewhere in the 1.6, 1.5 range. So where do you guys want to start?
So I think my wife and I would agree. We'll probably try to hold tight to the 1.6, as seeing this is definitely a feasible option for us.
It's definitely a feasible option. I think we're right in the ballpark, and all we can do is, here's the thing. I believe that price is going to attract attention, and my job kicks in when we get the attention, right? When the people come to the house, that's when I get to sell. That's when my training, which you're going to really appreciate, is going to kick in. You know, I can spot from a mile away the types of buyers that are coming in. I know if their personality styles, if they're these high control freaks, their analyticals, you know, everything in between. I know in their visual, their auditory, their kinesthetic. As soon as I get them, I'm going to do the absolute best job I can and make sure that I sell this property in the best light for them. So all I need to do is attract people and we'll do it. So let's do it. Let's get started there. And I will give you feedback for what the market's telling us basically immediately. So that's where so we're going to start at 1.6. Is that what you guys want to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Here is the agreement I emailed to you last night. Has that I'm just going to write in 1.6 million here. And if you go ahead and go ahead and initial the bottom of that page right there. And Hannah, you initial the page on that one, and we'll get started.
There we go. That was a 10 minutes from start to finish with a lot of BS in the middle and ad-libbing in between. So what were some of the takeaways from you, Chris? And I want to hear from the audience too. What are some takeaways or comments you guys have from that too?
Yeah, please chat in there some of the things that you noticed, the things that stood out to you. One of them is building yes sets along the way through the whole process. So you're asking questions that you know the answer to, that are easy for him to say yes to. So if you're nodding, they're saying yes. You're nodding, he's answering the question, saying yes. It makes it easier to say yes to, all right, which price would you like to be at? Let's sign the contract. Yes, yes. So it just makes it easier. You're giving them the power, they feel empowered. So as you're going through what's most like yours, least like yours, you're creating that avenue of where the pricing should be, and they feel empowered to select in this avenue, and anything outside of that, they feel like they shouldn't really be there, and they're not as empowered to choose that. They feel much better about picking something in here, and they actually start to feel bad about picking the wrong price that, you know, that we don't want them to be in. See, what else did I note here? You solidified what your job is. So a lot of times the sellers think that it's our job to, you know, to sell the home, to put it on the market, do all those things. My job kicks in when we start getting offers. That's where my job is. My job is to represent you. My job is to negotiate on your behalf and make sure you put as much money in your pocket as possible. That's when my job really kicks in. And as you made them feel empowered, the last thing is if the property isn't selling at the price they chose, they start questioning themselves, not you. They start saying, well, maybe did we pick the right price? Maybe we should have started a little bit lower instead of, wow, Jeff told us that was really the wrong price that Jeff told us. Maybe Jeff doesn't know it. Maybe we need to go a little lower. Those are some of the main big points that I saw that I took notes on.
That's right. And a couple of the intricacies on it. Did you notice my head?
Yep.
A lot on that, right? So does this make sense to you, Jonathan, Hannah? Are we good on this one? And you guys said you wanted to be in Madeira Beach in about 3 months. Is that right? And you said you owed nothing. Isn't that right? And you wanted to price around 1.6. Isn't that right? Okay. It's really 2 issues that we need to look at today. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Then we do this, we do this. So naturally, what's going to end up happening is while I'm building rapport and connections, as we sync up, right, they're going to start doing this along with me. And I really want my clients to be doing this rather than this. So if I'm going to start to train a movement, I would rather be this movement along the way. And it's just repeating and improving. Notice there's not one thing that I said the entire time. It was 100% asking questions, listening, repeating back their answer, approving of their answer, and asking the next question, right? It's all them. It's 100% them. There's not one thing that I actually said or came up with that wasn't theirs, their words. And that's the beauty of this, because they like themselves, and I'm just walking them down the path. I'm guiding them. I'm holding their hand. We're walking them down because, look, we're partners in this deal. But I don't need to start a confrontation. I don't need to say you guys aren't going to get that price. I don't need to do anything like that. I'm just going to walk them through the path on that.
So there's one of the questions, if the price was predetermined to be at 1.6, meaning in your pre-qual, he said it was 1.6 by the seller and supported by the CMA, then why take them through the whole thing in multiple steps? That's the whole point of creating the presentation, empowering the seller, really putting it on the seller, that the seller is making. I know they said 1.6, but we need to prove all of that, prove that they're making the right decision. And if it doesn't sell at 1.6, it wasn't us that made that decision for them, or it wasn't us that let them make that decision. We all decided together, and based on the information that was provided to them, they went through those steps. And that it's also, you're putting on a presentation, you're putting on a show. Your job is to show up, to justify, to verify. And if you don't do that, when you do get paid that commission, they start to question your value. I want to continue to show them that I am a valuable resource to them. So this whole presentation shows them where my value is. And then when we negotiate, I completely give them even more value.
And yeah, and let me talk about that. Fennel, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I don't haven't had a chance to meet you yet, but that obviously that was a hypothetical pricing point, but this is the point. It doesn't matter what the price is because the data is the data. Now I know what they're thinking about what they want because I got it in the preview. Remember, because one of my questions on the preview is, what do you think the approximate value of your house is? And then on the listing prequal, I ask them again, and what do you think the value of your house is? Do you plan to hire Century 21 Beggars for that price? Right, I've asked them 3 times what the price is. So I know what it is going in, but it doesn't matter. I want to make sure, I want to see how committed they are to that price. And then as I walk through the SPA with them, strategic pricing analysis, right? If they want 1.6 and all of my numbers come back to a 1.3, I'm still going with this exact same thing. I say, look, here are the top 5 competitors that we have. There's this one, this one, this one, and this one. Which is the most expensive property we're competing with? 1.3. Well, Jeff, I wanted 1.6. I hear you. What's the most important expensive property we're competing with? 1.3. Okay, well, what do you think is going to happen if we put on the market at 1.6?
Yep. So then it
Right.
becomes asking you for your input instead of you telling them you can't get 1.6. So all of it fields into them getting those questions out and you advising rather than you telling them what the price is going to be.
Right, and I've got a lot of data at my fingertips by now too. I know through Remind, right? Pretty much, I know they've told me what they owe on the property. Remind probably confirmed how much they owe on the property. I know who their mortgage is through. I know what their monthly payments are, and I know what their equity is too. So they may want 1.6, but it's not worth but 1.4, and it is what it is. And maybe it's not time to sell, right? But I don't know what to tell you about how we're going to jump from 1.4 to 1.6 in the next month. Right? It's just crazy. Or we could try it because you have imported brass doorknobs from Zimbabwe or whatever you wanted to try it, right? As long as we figure out their motivation and figure out the pricing. So this really just takes the control. Now, if I know they really want 1.6 and they need 1.6 and it's only worth 1.2, I probably will have this conversation with them and say, how committed to your price? In our listing prequal, it says, what happens if you can't get your price for your property? Right? I've already set the stage for what will your plans change if you can't get your price.
And in the beginning of the presentation, you also let them know that one of 3 things is going to happen. And one of them could be, I decide, or we decide not to list your property. So and that's only if we don't come to terms on the, price and terms of the contract. So you've already set that precedence being out there. And now everything about the steps and everything about the presentation and the SPA and the cost estimator is solidifying all of the facts of that to get to that close, whatever that close is. One of those 3 things is going to happen.
Right. And if you start getting into pricing discussions, right? Say, Chris, I hear you, man, but we really want to get to 1.6. Say, okay, well, you told me the most similar house is that one on Oakberry. Let's pull that up real quick, right? And maybe I have the printouts, which I probably do have all the printouts and photos of that house. I know it's your biggest competitor, saying, okay, let's not be you, and let's pretend you're a buyer I just picked up from the airport in my car, and we're going to look at houses. Right, and it's between your house and this house. And let's look at them. Let's look subjectively at them. Let's look objectively at them. Let's really compare, because part of our pricing strategy might be to get rid of that guy. And I've done this with a lot of clients before, Mr. Seller, because if we want to get to the 1.6, that 1.3 is in our way. So if we come on the market for 1.5, they're going to clearly see that 1.3 is better than ours and get that bad boy out of our way. And now we're the only game in town, and maybe we can find that one guy who's not going to have an appraisal contingency, and we'll come maybe and fall in love with your house. So there's marketing strategy. That's why it's strategic pricing analysis to figure out what we're going to do. Because honestly, when you price your house, you're either pricing it so you're the next seller or somebody else is the next seller. And sometimes you do that strategically to get rid of them, right? And this is just us having a realistic conversation about how the market actually works. Right? This is marketing. This is how you actually price properties, which I'm not going to go too in depth because Craig and Kat are going to hit that right after this today. But this really just takes control over that. So a couple of the comments on this one. Michelle mentioned allowing the seller to be engaged with setting the sales price. Michelle, it's them setting the sales price. That's the beautiful part about this. And they asked me, well, Jeff, what do you think? What do you think you would sell it? I was like, guys, I'm not the buyer. The house is priceless to me. You're the only ones that know how quickly you want to be living in Madeira Beach. I mean, I can get you there under contract this weekend, or I can get you there in 3 months from now. Totally fine with me. I'm going to be here no matter what. So do you want to try to get a little extra money, or do you want to be certain that your home is sold quickly? You guys make that call, not me. I'm fine either way you pick it. I'm fine whatever, anywhere in this range I'm happy with. And then just kick it back to them, because I don't want to own that price. It's a hot potato, baby. I'm not touching that because I'm not buying it. I am not the buyer. I do not determine the price. I determine the price point's going to attract buyers into the front door and make my phone ring. And that's when I go to work, right?
You hear all the time from expired listings or people who tried to sell their home with a different agency, different time, and they end up listing with us is they told me they could sell it at this price. That creates so much animosity, so much from the get-go, because you're anxious. If I can't sell it at that price, then they're not going to see my value in it. And then you're creating anxiety on the other side that if you don't get that price, then they all of a sudden you are not holding up your value. You're not valuable, and they don't want to have anything to do with you. So the seller setting the price is absolutely huge. And when you mentioned that this is a strategic pricing analysis, it's not push button, get CMA. It's
Right.
strategic pricing analysis. And to the point of Fennel, when you're talking about why go through all those steps, that presentation is part of the whole process of getting that strategic pricing analysis across to them, even if it's just to justify the price that was already in their head.
Right. And somebody mentioned it earlier too. Who took control? Who had control in that presentation? Right. I did, because the person asking the questions has the control.
But
Right.
who felt like they were in control? The seller. You
Mhm.
took control. You didn't push anybody around. You didn't boss anybody around. You didn't tell them anything, yet you gave them all of the power. I wrote down the seller feels empowered. They feel empowered about the decision. They feel empowered about saying yes. They feel empowered about the price. They feel empowered about time frame on market. They feel so empowered because you took that control and were able to push it over to them and make them feel like they were the ones that were empowered.
That's right. And empower, educate, encourage, guys. That's the thread through our entire company and our entire being. That's what we do. We empower, we educate, and we encourage, right? Agents, buyers, sellers, marketplace. That's just what we do. And that's what you as our agents and our team and our colleagues are doing the same thing. So let's do one other thing. I'm going to go back to a screen share here.
While you're doing that, something else is involved both parties in the decision making. Absolutely. So you never want to be so concentrated on one side of the party there, because you may offend one of those people as well. So making sure that both parties, you involve both of them, asking them both questions, allowing some input from both sides. You never want to walk out the door and have the husband or the wife's basically feeling like they were left out of it because you were only asking one party. They could be completely offended. Like, why do you think that I can't make any of those decisions? So involving both parties is absolutely huge. Presentation provides clarity and validity. Absolutely. That's part of the whole process of that, giving them clarity on the decision that they pretty much already have in their head. And if it's somewhere outside of that, it makes it clear why it's outside of that.
Right. And for those of you watching, which are all of you watching, did it seem weird that I had a piece of paper in front of me? No, right? It's a natural thing. And if you notice, I read off that script because I want to make sure I hit every point, because it's important to me. And this is the exact script that we use every single time, which I want to dissect real quick, because here's how it starts, right? Thanks again for having me over. Just so you know, this should only take between 5 and 25 minutes. Let's go have a seat at the kitchen table. I just walked into their home and told them where to put their butts, okay? That's how you subtly take control over the presentation. I don't want to dilly-dally. I don't want to BS. I don't want to talk about your dog. Sit your ass down. I wrote down 3 real important questions. This is how I run my business, right? And I said that from the very beginning. This is how I run my business. I wrote down a few really important questions for you guys. Let's get started. The first one I wrote down is, have you absolutely decided to sell your property now? What's my head doing?
Nodding.
Okay. Yeah, you have. Fantastic. I'm glad. Number 2 is, will you price your property to sell versus the competition, or do you want to price it so it sits on the market for a long time? And then you be quiet and you listen to their answer. And I don't care what your answer is. I'm going to repeat it and I'm going to approve it and I'm going to the next question. Right? That's the beauty of this, guys. And you do it every single time the exact same way on autopilot. And that's when I can start to pay attention to whether he's sitting like this, like this, like this. Is he smiling? Does he have eye contact? Is he touching his head? Is he tight? Is he moving? What's going on in his world? And how can I attach to the 93% of communication when the 7% is so diminished because it's on autopilot, it's stuck in my head, right? I know the words.
Then look at the, you see how Jeff is inflecting on certain words. Real important. Absolutely. Sell your property, price your property to sell. Want Century 21 Beggins to sign the contract, hire Century 21 Beggins, hire Century 21 Beggins. If communication and inflection and tonality is part of your way to communicate with people, and you're really taking those phrases and putting some solid inflection, the pause right before, solid inflection into those phrases, it's getting into their subconscious head. Sell your property, price to sell, hire Century 21 Beggins. You're literally programming their brain for when you ask them to sign a contract.
Let's talk about inflection too, upswings versus downswings. Listen to the difference. Hi, thanks for having me over. I wrote down 3 important questions. Have you decided to sell your property? Will you price your property to sell versus the competition? Okay, and do you want Century 21 Beggins to handle the sale for you? Right? Just think about, listen to that for just a second. And what just happened? You just destroyed everything you've been working on for the last 2 months because your upswings kicked in, right? And upswings, remember the FOS we talked about yesterday? It just says, this person doesn't even believe that they're the right person to sell my house. Why should I, right? That's a subconscious method. That's why the first P was practice, right? So you've got to get to the point where you don't even look at the script. You say, okay, hey guys, thanks for having me over. This is going to take between 5 and 25 minutes. And I've seen the kitchen table. I draw 3 over quotes for you. Number 1, if you actually decide to sell. Number 2, we pressure them to sell, which company doors in the market. Number 3, do you want Century 21 Beggins answer? Great. Boom, boom, boom. You got to be able to go through this and go through this and go through this and have these completely on autopilot. So when you're sitting in front of them, yes, the script's still in front of you, but now you can pay attention to gestures, vocabulary, all that stuff. You can go deep on this, guys, into blink rates and breathing pattern, all kinds of stuff when you go to different advanced levels. But right now you can't do anything until you actually have the words internalized, right? And so just learn one set. Now, could you make this you and be different every time? Sure. But if I'm going to try to be creative on what I'm going to say, I'm not going to be able to pay attention to my client, right? And I'm not going to be able to give him the warm and fuzzy comfort to know that he can trust me with his largest financial transaction because I'm paying attention and he likes me because people like people who are like themselves. And the more I can honor him by being most like him and his tribe, right? The easier it's going to be for him to trust me to be able to do my job, because this is the underlying foundation thought here. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that I am the best person for him to put in charge of this transaction. No one's going to out negotiate me. No one's going to outmarket our company. No one's going to outwork me. There's not a better agent in the marketplace that's going to do a better job for you, right? I know that. That is my core belief, right? And that has to be yours, guys. It has to, right? Because your energy precedes you. And if you don't believe you're the right agent for this job, neither will they, okay? They will not. They will not. And if you don't believe you are, you better believe that we are, because you're representing us, right? And I know in our marketplace, there's not another broker that can come close to the level of empower, educate, and encourage. There's not one person that's outworking us. There's not one person that's putting in the time, energy that we are. And I'm proud of that. And we deserve, and we that's value. And it brings more value to the transaction. You guys are better in the living room than anybody else in the marketplace. You are able to understand how to sell. You're able to understand how to connect. You're able to understand how to represent. You know the difference between agencies, right? You know how to market. You know what your back office does for you. I mean, you guys are rock stars. Act like it.
These processes, these steps, these simple things in the script, the simple things about head nodding, the mindset, all of these things that go into this listing process and the presentation and the SPA and the cost estimator and all of these things are what allows a brand new agent with no experience in real estate to walk into a living room, walk into a kitchen, sit at the kitchen table and get someone to sign a $350,000 listing, get someone to sign a $970,000 contract, to get someone to sign a $500,000 deal, the largest asset they're ever going to own. These things are what's going to empower you to be able to step into that room and be able to take that control without seeming like you're bulldozing anybody, empowering the seller, empowering your buyer to be able to do those things. So that's exactly the whole point of having a process. Anything that you do more than one time, anything that you're going to repeat more than one time should have a system, should have a process. If you don't have a listing process, a pre-qualification process, a presentation process, a pricing process, a prospecting process, if you don't have that, get one. That's the main point of what we've been going through today and yesterday and tomorrow as well. Get a process, do the same thing over and over again, because I know when I do the same thing over and over and over and over again, I'm going to be damn good at it. I'm going to become a master at those things.
All right. So one thing I want to make sure we hit, well, in the time that we have here right now, is this question for you. Okay. Straight on question, and be prepared for it. Why should I hire you? Okay. And why should I hire you? You're going to get that question. Guys, there's 1 million real estate agents out there. Literally, there's 1.5 million real estate agents for you. And just the Tampa Bay DMA and Orlando DMA, there's 30,000 real estate agents, right? That's not a joke. That's a true number, right? There's 30,000 people in Central Florida real estate market. And so the question is, why should I hire you? And you need to be able to come up with that answer. So what we did is typically you write down a list of what you think we could do. So take a second. What are like the top 3 reasons why a seller should hire you? And then we sat back as a company and said, okay, let's put together all the reasons why they should hire us collectively, because it's never just a you guys, right? If you're just leveraging you, you're missing the boat, guys. You were hiring everybody. You're hiring you as an agent, us as a franchisor, you're hiring Century 21 as the franchisor, as the name brand. You're hiring Realogy as the parent company. I mean, we're all coming together in this transaction, guys. You're getting the whole, that's it. The full money's coming, right? So this presentation, it's a 6 minutes. Pay attention, and try to keep track of how many points we have in this thing as far as why they should hire us. And this is being edited right now because we've grown our footprint outside of just Tampa Bay. We're crossing now the entire state of Florida and soon beyond that. So we've got a lot of great growth things going on inside the company. But watch this as what we talk about as to why they should actually hire us to get properties sold. So there we go. And you hit the play button here.
Century 21 Beggins for the opportunity to get your property sold. In just a couple minutes, I'm going to explain the strategic differences and the reasons why you should hire Century 21 Beggins. Now, what you're going to get when you hire Century 21 Beggins is not just your amazing agent. You're going to get several hundred of our agents, plus dozens of the most highly skilled support staff that's out there in the industry. When selling 20 to 50 homes a day, you've got to imagine we're a pretty well-oiled machine that's going to expertly handle over 400 tasks to make sure that we have a smooth closing. And as a result, we are proud to be the only real estate company in the nation that has a money-back service guarantee. If you're not happy with anything at all, we actually pay you. One of the biggest distinctions and why you need to hire Century 21 Beggins is the fact that we offer the highest level of representation, and that's called single agency. You probably haven't even heard of this from other real estate companies because most other companies limit their legal exposure by only offering what's called transaction broker representation, which doesn't even offer full disclosure, obedience, loyalty, and confidentiality. Now, this is one of the, if not the largest financial transaction in your life. You need the highest level of representation. You need Century 21 Beggins. Now, here's what happens when you actually hire us to get your property sold. The first phase is our pre-marketing phase, and you'll have the opportunity to be one of our certified pre-loved homes. We're going to make sure that your buyer feels comfortable the moment they walk through the door. We're going to have done a preliminary title search, the permit searches, lien searches. We highly recommend that we do a home inspection first so we can identify any little tweaks that need to be made to make your house look phenomenal on the market. We offer you expert staging advice with professional photography, and we're ready to launch as the best property in the marketplace. Now, when we actually launch, it's phase 2. Now, 97% of all the buyers are online, so we are there to greet them in every way. First thing we've done is taken the liberty to secure a website with your address. We're going to showcase your home only with census information, school information, different market videos. Our YouTube team is going to produce professional video with music and voiceovers. Our global translation team is going to convert all of our marketing into 16 different languages, the different units and measure for the different countries, and 32 different currencies. We're going to showcase your property on century21.com, plus 800 other most highly trafficked websites and portals out there. We're going to find the buyer where they are. For our luxury property marketing, In addition to all the marketing we already do, we reach out to the Robb Report, the DuPont Register, the New York Times, Luxury Properties, International New York Times. We reach the luxury buyers where they are. And for those exquisite and unique properties, well over $1 million, our exquisite property auction team might just be a great solution for you. Once we get the marketing out there, phase 3 is our lead capture and incubation process. Now, all the online leads mostly come in with text. Hey, I'd like some more information on this property. So we take that information and it gets transcribed into voice and it goes directly to your agent via text, email, and a phone call with well under 1 minute. So we never miss a lead. Now, with our incubation technology, we take all of these leads and we help prioritize those so we can reach out to those who are ready to buy now, which results in us bringing qualified buyers to your home faster. The final phase is our transparency and our closing phase. Every 2 weeks, you're going to be updated with how many views are we getting, where are the people looking at your home from, and we're going to be able to fine tune and really drill down into that buyer. Once we're under contract, we're going to have a really smooth closing. Our team's going to handle all the critical dates, all the contingencies, all the financing. You're just going to sit back and let us handle it all for you until it's time to disperse the funds. What you may not know is Century 21 is the largest real estate company ever. We have 7,600 offices. There's over 120,000 real estate agents on our team. And we're in 78 countries around the world. Why that's important is because we become the largest, #1 most recognized name, which means people click on our ads first and they call on our signs first. And that's what you really want. We've been able to sweep J.D. Powers and Associates, the entire real estate category, for the last several years, which is a feat that's never been done by any real estate company ever before. And we spend $70 million a year advertising and promoting and marketing your property. Now, Century 21 Beggins is the largest Century 21 company in the entire Southeastern United States. We are firmly placed in the top 21 companies out of 7,600 offices in the world. And we have the benefit of being in this business and in this brand for well over 40 years now. And with the Beggins family actually bringing Century 21 to the state. We now have several hundred of the most highly skilled sales associates, multiple locations, and we're selling 20 to 50 homes a day, and proud to be one of the top workplaces for the last several years. We are proud to be one of only 3 companies that is honored to serve the Army, the Marine, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and their families with the Navy Federal Credit Union, USAA, which simply means to you a larger buyer pool to get your property sold faster. When it's time to talk about pricing, our strategic pricing analysis is what's really going to make it make sense for you. We break it down and simplify it into 3 simple steps. Part 1, we call it what buyers can pay. It's the top 5 homes that we're going to be competing with on the marketplace. It's our job and now your job to really understand what we're competing against. The second step is what buyers did pay. And these are the top 5 homes, most like yours, that have sold and closed. And we need to understand these because the appraiser is going to look at these when they're approving a loan for the next buyer. And the last phase is what buyers refuse to pay. And that's what the market rejected, mostly because of price. As a result of our strategic pricing analysis, we're going to get a really great range of values. And that range of value is going to roll into a seller's cost estimator, which is going to show us a range of values where your property will sell. We're going to have a price of which will result in a slower sale and a price that will result in a faster sale and prices that will be on the average days on the market. And together, we're going to empower, educate, and encourage each other so we make sure that we pick the price together that's going to get you the price you need and the time frame that you want. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time to interview Century 21 Beggins, and I look forward to having you as one of our great satisfied customers in the future. Thanks again for your time.
Okay. So
What's your feedback on that? What's that? What do you-
I mean, not even going into all the individual little specifics that are mentioned, I've got about 37 different hash marks here for different things and still not including a lot of the tiny little individual things. So I mean, if that doesn't, boost your resume up before you even walk in the door and give you a little bit of pep in your step and some confidence to walk in with your chest out, head up, shoulders back, that's something.
So there's 78 different things in there, right? And I don't know, and it doesn't really matter what's most important to the seller. Because remember on the listing pre-qual, say, hey, I'm going to send over a brief presentation. It's really important that you guys watch that. Please do that. What's the best way for me to send it to you? Email, text, Facebook, Instagram, I don't care, but watch the damn thing, right? And then because when I get to the listing presentation, hey, Chris, did you guys get a chance to watch that presentation I sent to you? You did, fantastic. What are the things that stood out to you most? And then you zip it because they're going to tell us what they think was most important. And now I can go reinforce. Right. So they could pick one of those 78 things or 4 of those 78 things, and I'm just going to keep going. down that point. So guys, this is just designed to set it up. Do you see the continuity? Do you see the consistency, right? From the process, from, hey, I'm going to see you, we're going to preview, I'm going to show you my sample spa, I'm going to go to the seller's cost estimator, and we're going to do that. Then we get to the listing presentation, the video, and the video says, hey, here's what I'm about to do for you. Then I show up at the presentation tomorrow and here's what I just did for you, right? It's there. So, but if you screw up one of the steps, you look like a weirdo because it doesn't make sense anymore.
If you're sending that video, you better be using the strategic pricing analysis and a cost estimator. So
That's right. Whoops. So yeah, so it's awesome. All right. So any questions? Let me hit Q&A real quick on this one. Thank you. You closed the seller several times, a very smooth transition, handling the contract to signature. That awesome, it adds so much value. Good, I just want to make sure we're hitting all the Q&A on this one. So our goal on that segment of this presentation was to get you committed and convinced to saying, I will follow the process. Give us some blind faith. If you haven't been, do it, guys. We're your partners. We're not going to have you do what doesn't work, because selfishly, we make money when you make money, right? So do it this way because we know it works, and you're going to be so shoulders back, just strutting your stuff out there, guys. We bring so much to the table. We really do, and you do. So just make sure you use this with you. Try to come up with a new system. It doesn't make any sense, guys. We have 60,000 transactions under our belt, and almost 40 years with what Dad's been doing with this company forever, right? Let us bring this value to you and just do it. So that's what we wanted to bring to the table. Any parting words on that, Chris?
No, just like I mentioned, it's all about the process. That process is going to give you the confidence that you need to be able to step in and focus on what's really important, and that's connecting to the seller. Understand the process, follow the process, and sit down and connect with that person in front of you. Give yourself the best opportunity to earn their business, not just have it handed to you. And when you follow our systems, processes, and tools, it's all set up for you.
Love it. So what we're going to be doing next is we have a lot of fun with the art of pricing, because that's what it comes about to. We're going to go deep into this one. Pam has a question. She's raising her.
It'll get into your pricing when you talk about the art of pricing. What if you don't have enough comps?
Great. Yeah, Craig and Kat will touch on that, but the short answer is find them, right? You've got to. I mean, the appraiser is going to find them, so you've got to too, and you've got to figure it out. Because you guys, you've got to sell what's going on. You've got to sell what the true competition is, guys. So guys, please follow the process, reach out, let us know what else we can do for you. And you're in for a big treat with Craig and Kat. And I'm sure Craig will give Kat's background, but as an attorney, she brings such a wealth of knowledge to our leadership team, and we're so very happy to have her on board as well. So Chris, as always, thank you very much for helping crushing this.
Thank you, sir.
And would love it. So we will pause. You'll have about a 32-second break before Craig and Kat pop on in. You're welcome, Nita. Thank you. See you guys soon. I'll be back for a recap with you guys with Craig at the end of the day at 5. See you soon. Thanks for your attention.
Mike, it says I can't access my video because my host has stopped it.
Yep, same here.
Give me a second. Your co-host, you should be able to do it now.
Thank you, guys. Happy Wednesday.
All right.
Happy
We got
Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is these days. Well, guys, what do you think online? Did we promise you a stunning listing presentation?
All about processes.
All about processes, and it's about practice. I mean, when you watch Jeff do that, I mean, he has done it so many times, it just rolls off his tongue, right?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Christine. Very good. Well, Kathleen, I think this is your first presentation to the group today, right?
I think so too.
So
Very
you joined
much.
our Sarasota team. You're running Longboat Key and Ringling downtown Sarasota.
Loving it.
You have totally turned that team around. Everybody's energetic and motivated and going to finish the year off fantastically. So thank you for all you do.
Well, thanks the team. It's not me, it's them. They're
Let's
doing
get a
it.
little background.
Processes,
from you.
the systems, right?
Yep. All we do is implement. Kathleen was an agent with us for 10 years in the Sun City Center office, and she actually moved to Sarasota. And I called her up and said, I need some help in Sarasota. And she said, are you kidding? I'd love to do that.
It's
And,
true.
You have to have passion for what you do, guys. Passion makes everything. Very good. I am sitting here freezing. I'm just such a Floridian. It's crazy.
Sweater. Yeah.
But Kathleen,
same here.
before you got into real estate, give us a quick background. You were a public defender.
Well, we have to really flip that. I was a former state attorney, and then I went into private practice as a criminal defense attorney. Prior to that, I worked my way through school. I did manage for Gordon Jewelers for a number of years while I was in college, graduate school, and law school in Zales. So I'm used to managing, 1,000+ people. And then I went to law school at night, drove God knows how many miles a week, probably a good 1,000 miles a week because I had a scholarship. So I drove to Orlando at night. It was quite the time. We can remember when I-4 had one way in, one way out, and the lights were blasting in our eyes because they were doing road construction in the 90s. So that was tough. So fast forward, I enjoyed my 35 years with the Hillsborough County State Attorney's Office and a couple of our wonderful judges.
35 years.
Yes, I started there when I was like 18, I think. Yeah. And prior to that, I picked up a nursing LPN to take care of my grandmother, and she passed away. So I decided I was not going to be a nurse. I really have lots of opinions, which is perfect for law, perfect for real estate. And I always wanted to marry business with law. It was not my goal to become the next big hot dog in the courtroom, but I enjoyed my time doing that and eventually came full circle and had the pleasure of meeting you, Peter Catholic at that time, and Deborah Haley. Interviewed with you guys prior to deciding to retire from the state attorney's office. I had already had my real estate license because I had a wonderful broker I worked for, but unfortunately she had to close her practice because she got MS. Mm-hmm. And she was with the public defender's office. That's where you're getting that from. That's where you remember that from. And it was really funny because we were on opposite sides of the courtroom, so we had to really play it down. We did our work on the weekends. We didn't say a word about it during 9 to 5 because you're prohibited as a state employee. You can't do that. Right. So Stacy wound down her practice, interviewed with you guys, and it was the best decision I made for 2 reasons. It's all about support. There are so many brokerages out there, but they don't offer the education. They don't offer the support. There is not morning trainings every morning if you want to tune in at 8:30 and learn a little bit more, pick up a nugget about this or that. There's no systems for listings and for working with your buyers effectively. And I really wanted to be a strong listing agent. That was always my goal. So this brokerage offers that. I know there's a lot of Century 21s out there, but it's all what you do with what they offer you with corporate, with the systems. So
let's get off that pitch. We're going to talk about the pricing system today because we've got some hungry agents. Okay, I feel really good about this. I can jump in, I can make a listing presentation, but how the hell do I price this property?
Exactly.
Right.
That's right.
So I put a little slide up. I'm going to share that for a minute. We're going to talk through some points, and then we'll get to some specifics.
That sounds terrific.
Okay, the art of pricing, creating trust and ownership with your sellers. All right, I'm going to start talking about, I get a reputation of not being super romantic or sexy because it's just the truth, right? The truth is the more you work, the better you get, right? There's no magic answers out there. It takes research. So I made a couple lists. Supply and demand runs every market, right? That's just, you can't get past that. So write this one down. A house is worth what a buyer is willing to pay based on what else is available the day they decide to buy. That's the definition of pricing. So what the hell does that mean? If I buy a house today and an as-is contract and one comes on the market next door that I like better, I'll cancel my as-is and go buy that one, right? The micro market is what you care about. Okay, so I wrote down here, there is no U.S. housing market. There is no Florida housing market. There is no Tampa, St. Pete, Orlando, et cetera, housing market. You can't look at stats and say, oh, Tampa's up, because there's parts of Tampa that are not up. There's parts of
Right.
Orlando that are up, and the next subdivision down might not be. Right.
Right.
So it really is very, I'm not going to give you anything. We're not going to give you anything that is super concrete saying this is how you do it. Because what you're going to do is you're going to slice and dice a bunch of different things, a bunch of different ways until something congruent comes together and there's an aha. And one of the biggest challenges we have with a seller is when we go in as an agent and say, I can sell your house for this, and then we don't get offers in that price range, whose fault is it? Ours. They blame us for choosing the wrong price. So we're going to teach you today a collaborative approach where you're going to work with the seller and empower, educate, and encourage them to select the right price. I just did this on a personal transaction, a big one, and the seller wants me to price the property. And I said, absolutely not. It's not what I do, but I will educate you on the process, and we'll collaborate and come up with something we agree on. And that's going to make me shine above everybody else who's going to try to spit out a number that nobody knows. The buyer is going to determine that.
And the people who like to send mailings to the sellers that has a quick CMA, or here's what Zillow says about your house. Mr. and Mrs. Zillow has not been to your house. They
That's
haven't
the
been
problem.
inside of it, around it, or on top of the roof. They don't know.
Yep. So we followed the process. So we did the preview, we did the practice, we did the prospect, we did the preview through all the P's. And now we're in the listing presentation. And after the listing presentation, we go to the pricing presentation. So I'm going to read my notes here, then we're going to jump into the spot. So do not suggest a price, right? You're going to collaborate on a price. Do not offer pricing without inspecting the property. Kathleen, how can you possibly, you were in the jewelry business.
Yep.
If I said, hey, just in a Zoom call, what's my diamond worth? What are you going to tell me?
Well, you got to look at it. First of all, you have to know what kind of condition it's in. You got to know what kind of mounting it's in. You got to know what kind of cut it is. We got to know what kind of stone it is. We want to know, is it full of carbon?
Clarity. All that.
Clarity, cut, clarity, all that stuff. So
The answer is
the
you're going to say,
pricing on real
bring
estate.
it in and I'll take a look at it.
Exactly.
Right. So
That's
we
right.
can't bring the house in. So you got to go to the house.
That's right.
Don't accept responsibility for selecting the price because it's going to bite you in the butt later.
Yep.
And we talked about collaborate. Do not rely on algorithms. You know, for fun, my dad did a test on a listing he was working on. He made it public, and he got 7 different algorithms on one property, and the prices range from 750,000 to like $1.3 million. And he sold that house for $1.5 million.
There you have it.
Right?
Yep.
7 different algorithms gave 7 different prices. Right? So we're not going to do that. We'll show you how to include it. You know, I want to call it out and show the seller because the fact of the matter is the public has access to these numbers. Right? So
They do.
if I'm a buyer and I'm looking at a house, I'm going to go to Zillow and look at it and see what the estimate is. So as an agent, you have to learn to overcome that. If Zillow says the house is worth 750 and you've got it listed for 850, you better be able to back that up, right? And the do's, definitely preview the property. We talked about this a little bit, but I mean already, so I'm not gonna go into details there. Ask tough questions on the preview. And we talked about that too. Jeff actually came up with a really good list of questions that I hope you all will use. We talked about this last class too. New AC, don't use new AC. When? New, I have a new kitchen. And that was 5 years ago,
Mhm.
right? So to me, it's new, but it was 5 years ago. It's not a new kitchen anymore. Roof, new roof. 5 years ago? No, get specific. And then here's the key. We're getting into the form now. Identify the competitive advantages and deficiencies. When Jeff and I were role playing 2 classes ago, he was asking me about my house and got me to admit that what could make it better. And the answer was new windows and new doors and a new roof. Well, right there, I just knew there's $120,000 worth of goods there. And in my head as a seller, I'm going, shit, wow, my house is going to need some work, right? So when you go through that process, it's good. Little bit of just.
If I could jump in for 1 second too.
Go ahead.
This is also equally important when the sellers are writing out their seller's disclosure. And I say the seller's writing out because as an agent, you don't put pen to paper on that. I don't care if they beg, borrow, or try to say, oh no, I trust you with my life. Don't ever, as an agent, put pen to paper on that seller disclosure. That is completely the seller's responsibility. I can't tell you how many times I've heard other agents out of other brokerages, not ours, thank God. Oh, I just filled it out for my seller. You know, they're a good friend. I'm like, well, be a real good friend in court too. And they litigate that and they hang out all the problems on you.
That's right. Absolutely. So as we get into the analysis here, a seller's market by definition is less than 6 months supply of homes on the market. And that's part of the SPA we're going to get into. And a buyer's market is greater than 6 months supply. We haven't seen a buyer's market in a long, long time.
No.
Right. Although about 2 or 3 years ago, Sarasota was in a buyer's market. Everybody else in
Correct.
Tampa and St. Pete was 6 months or less, but Sarasota was 10 months.
That's
And it's
right.
totally reversed. Okay. So we talked about micro markets. It's all subjective. See the SPA sample. It's right here. Ah, that's it. What a beautiful document
Nice.
for an analytical person, right? Okay, so
We
what are
love
we going to do? This is a real live SPA that Jeff had done, and we just made it really pretty, and it's really, really filled out well. So on your preview, you've used your NLP skills to build rapport with the seller, and you found out what they liked best about their house, right? So the first thing we're going to do is on our subject property, that's the green line here. So it's 429 Boca Ciega Drive. It's 2,600 square feet, 3-bedroom, 3-bath. It's an 11,000 square foot lot. It does not have a pool. It is on the water. It's a large lot with room for a pool and add-on pool house with a garage underneath, right? So that's what the advantage of this particular house is. Then you're going to go, this is like, let's start back here. The highlighted yellow dollar sign, what buyers can pay. That's the asking price. Then we're going to, section 2 is buyers, what buyers did pay, which is the sold prices. And then what buyers refused to pay, which is did not sell or expired. And, you know, we didn't have 5 properties. They only had 3. So what a lot of agents do there is they throw in some pendings also, because a pending is a pretty good indication of what price attracted a realtor to show it to a buyer, right? So feel free to use pendings in there. Bottom left corner of the SPA is your market analysis. So we just make this stuff up, guys. I wish I could say, you know, you always go from here to here. You're doing research. You're in the MLS. You're shopping for actives, right? And I wish I could say you always search within a mile radius. That's not the case, right? It's hard to address this topic on a wide scale area, because if I was talking about Apollo Beach, there are times I would use Ruskin Properties on an Apollo Beach spa. Ruskin's a town 7 miles away, right? But if I have the comps in Apollo Beach, I'm better off using the comps in Apollo Beach. So Kat, go through the steps. What would you do to find your can pays?
For what you can't, I'm sorry.
Start with, I mean, there's no right or wrong, right? So I know I've got a house in Madeira Beach at 2,690 square feet, and that's all I know. Now, when you start searching the MLS and you put in a price range, what are you doing?
Well, you're going to look for properties that are within a 10-year period of the one that you're looking at, that you're going to be listing. You're going to be looking for areas that are similar to your property within a 5-mile radius. And if you can't find it, you can go out further. Appraisers will do that. You're going to look to see what the property has in it in your competitive advantages. And you can start real simple by either one of two things. You can get a real aim on it through the MLS, through your tools that your MLS offers you. You can also go into the IMAP tool that's in your MLS to see what's been selling out there that the county is using for their own appraisers for their valuation. And just on that note, the county is always going to be off by a good 40%, sometimes more. So we don't put a whole lot into what the county says it's worth versus what we're finding out there in the open market. There's a plethora of different sources you could reach for. You can go on to tax records to see what's recently sold that's not going to be in the MLS. That's also a helpful way too. And then from there, you're going to shape it. You want to stay within 300 square feet up, 300 square feet down. The age of the property, you want to stay within 10 years. However, let's say you have a really unique bungalow that's built in the 1900s, and there's only a few properties even remotely close to that bungalow. and they're a little bit younger than your bungalow, appraisers will use that. And they'll just adjust for the difference in the age, adjust for the difference in the sizes. So that's your preliminary game plan.
Well,
Just-
let's get tactical. I like what you said. So I know I've got a house in Madeira Beach that's 2,690 square feet. So I'm going to search for actives. And every time you limit your search by square footage, by price range, by whether it has a pool or not, you're taking out choices, right? So if I had a thought in my head that this house is worth $1 million and I put a search criteria of 800 to $1.2 million, then I might miss a house that shows up at this size range at 750, right? Because I limited my size. So don't put price in your initial search.
No, I
So I'm
never
going to
do.
search Madeira Beach houses, and I did just like you said. I'd go 10% to 10% above and 10% below the
Mhm.
size. So 2,700 square feet. I'm going to go, 2,400 to 3,000 square feet. Search. Now I'm going to be totally subjective. I'm going to look. I'm going to do a lot of research. I'm going to click on the links. I'm going to open them up. I'm going to look at the photos, and I'm going to try to find the ones that are most similar to mine. Right? What is most similar to Boca Ciega Drive, 2,690 square feet? Well, something's going to pull up on Boca Ciega Drive right there, 1,289,000. And let's say it pulls up 25 comps. Then what do?
I'm gonna narrow it down.
You narrow it down. So I'm going to look for only 3-bedroom houses because my house is 3 bedrooms. And that price range, if I narrow it down to 3-bedroom houses, then I've only got 14 comps now.
And the pool and the
and
waterfront.
I want no pool. So I'm going to search again, and I'm going to keep chunking it down until I'm finding the most I can get. Right. And the opposite is if I only pull up 2 comps, then I'm going to expand my search. Right. And I can't tell you which way to do it. You're going to slice and you're going to dice. And at some point, your head's just going to go, that makes sense. Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's it. So we found Boca Ciega Drive, and you're going to choose. And this is where it's very, it's a big responsibility for you because you can alter the outcome of the SPA, strategic pricing analysis. It's actually, we're calling it strategic positioning analysis now. You can alter the outcome of the SPA based on the comps you pick. If you choose the rundown doghouse that hasn't been updated in years and you put that in, you're going to influence the price of this. If you
Absolutely.
pick a split polish, brand new 2020 built home and throw that in there when this house was built, whenever it was, you're going to alter it the other way. So and that's why we don't want to accept the responsibility for picking the price. Right. So we're going to go through the actives. We're going to say square footage. So 2,400 to 3,000. What are there? We're going to massage that data until we find the most likely best comps in our opinion.
And if I can interject for 1 second too, if we've got such a unique house that we can't find exactly what we want, you can always have to Mr. and Mrs. Seller get an appraisal,
For sure.
because that's going to help them tremendously. If you have a unique property, sometimes you're in the middle of Waimama somewhere and you're surrounded by strawberry fields and you've got a mansion. How are you going to price it? Or you've got one in Ruskin, like the Dickman house. That was a tough one that got moved over to Ruskin. Nothing else out there like it. Get an appraisal.
Yep, that's an option. But for the most part, we're dealing with a subdivision,
Sure.
and it's got homes that are built to a similar size, similar age, right? But it's going to take research on your part to really dive into the links in the MLS, look at the photographs, compare the quality of the kitchen to the pool, to the backyard, to the landscape and the condition. And this is where, when Jeff was talking about earlier, identifying your niche, I think he talked about Champions Gate in that one example. If you know Champions Gate, it's really, really easy to do a spa. You know where the streets are. You know what's close by. I don't know if Alita Drive is close to Boca Ciega Drive or not. It's not my market, right? How far is Wedgwood? Wedgwood is in Bel Air Beach, not Madeira Beach. So that tells me that there probably weren't any good comps in Madeira Beach to use. So we went 2 towns down, and we actually went to
Well-
North Reddington Beach as well.
And I'm going to jump in for a second too. When you're looking at these comps, when you're in the MLS, you can actually map them out. They have that feature so that you can add your house here first and then line it up underneath. So you literally have those driving directions. So you know exactly how many miles you're within for each comp. So if you see that it's way the heck out on the other side of the ocean, nowhere near, even though it might appear at first that it's close, that helps you eliminate.
Yes. And then having your local market knowledge makes a big difference. You know, the attraction to Boca Ciega Drive is from a boat to John's Pass, the bridge that goes out to the Gulf of Mexico, is a quarter mile. From
Mhm.
Bel Air Beach, you've got 3 or 4 miles of intercoastal to go through at idle speed before you get to one of the passes to get out to the Gulf of Mexico. So
That's
having
true.
that knowledge is really important. So I want to stress this is a responsibility for you as a single agent for our seller to be diligent and find this. And there's no right or wrong. That's a slice in the dice. By definition, do you know the definition of an appraisal?
It's what
It's
the
an,
buyers want.
it's opinion of value. An appraisal is an opinion of value,
That's it.
right? So
For that particular moment, it's not for eternity.
yeah, if you had 2 appraisers do an appraisal on the same house, are they going to come up with the same number?
No.
Nope, because they got different opinions.
Yeah.
And you're going to have different opinions, and your seller's going to have a different opinion, and you are going to be in
Very
a position to
subjective.
negotiate.
It's very
So the
subjective.
process-
And you know, on that point too, and I know I'm probably jumping ahead of us, but when you get into a situation where you're at the appraisal, and you know an appraiser's coming out and you've got your seller under contract, it's so important as a listing agent to have your behind out there with all your comparables, with all the updates. We all do feature sheets, highlighting all the wonderful things that have been done to that house. Because if you don't do that, I can assure you, the buyer's agent hasn't provided the feature sheet to the appraiser on all the bells and whistles. It's not in their best interest to. What does a buyer agent want? They want the best deal for their buyers, right? What does a listing agent want? The best top dollar for the seller and for the neighborhood, right?
Mhm.
Based on what the seller wants to list it at, because it's their decision and they own that.
Mhm.
So you, as that listing agent, want to make sure if you have a very tricky property that you've gone and above and beyond and look for comps. Because I will tell you on numerous occasions, I've been able to help appraisers with that situation. Even though you always hear they don't want to talk to you, sure they do. If you're not a jerk, if you're polite and respectful, and you open the door for them, hi, how are you? Come on in. Oh, doesn't it smell great here? So I'm so happy to see you. Have you had a chance to have a bite to eat? I brought you something. No, it's not a bribe. You're allowed to bring them a little snack or something. You establish a relationship, and then you walk the dog on everything on that property. They may be in a hurry. You respect that, and you will always let them know, hey, look, I've got a package put together for you to be helpful. I want to make sure you have a copy of that contract. I want to make sure that you know what the seller concessions are here. Did you know the seller's giving $10,000 closing cost assistance? No. Have you seen the contract? No. Oh, okay, good. Here's everything that you need. And here's the comparables in the area, and the feature sheet goes right on top. I know I jumped ahead, but these are things that they don't teach you in the book. But these are things that our brokerage teaches you.
That's really important because right now, with the short supply of market that we have, a lot of times houses are selling over asking price, right?
Yes.
And it's a problem. I mean, we have 3 sales we're making. We have to sell. The price has 3 components to it. Number 1, it has to attract a buyer. Number 2, it has to attract a real estate company to show it. And number 3, the appraiser has to like it, right? So
Absolutely.
it's doing 3 different things. So
That's
I've got
what
my
makes this file so
2,400 to 3.
important.
Go ahead.
And that's what makes the strategic prices analysis so important. And we're the only brokers that does it because we make these numbers very tight so that we're not in dream la la land. We really are analyzing this market very tight, as analytical as you can get it.
Strategic. So we went in this example, we went through, we narrowed it down to 14 comps that were nearby. And then we're going to look at those 14 and we're going to use our opinion to think which one is most similar to the ones we have. We're going to fill out this little sheet with all this information, and we're going to be sitting with the seller or on Zooming with the seller, however we're doing it. And you're going to ask the seller, Mr. Seller, looking at all the information in the can pay box, which property do you think is most like yours? Right. And this is where it would be helpful if you had a laptop or an iPad or a tablet or something to have the MLS open, because they may or may not know what that house looks like. Right. And this becomes a negotiation, right? You've made your opinion of what you think it would be. And the form adds all this stuff up for you. So we got 1,289,000, 1,149,000, 1,003,000, 1,385,000, and 1,720,000. So the average is 1,368,000. right? This particular one does not show year built. And you can change these headings. Year built is really important nowadays because with all the new construction and you're going to be pulling up, you don't want to pull up a 2020 new build with a 2000 resale unless you have to, right? So Mr. Seller, which of these properties do you think is most like yours? And you're going to have done the research and they're not going to have it. So who's got superior knowledge? You do. So if they say, well, mine is most like the one in Bath Club Boulevard for $1.7 million, and you're going to say, wait a minute, that one's 3,500 square feet. Yours is only 2,690.
Right.
Right. And then you pull up pictures of Bath Club Boulevard and they say, oh yeah, okay. So what's most like mine is probably Alita Drive. It's a 2,673 square footer. Or, you know, and another position I have is that square footage doesn't matter. You know, if you have a big room and the windows and doors are in the wrong place, there's no place to put a bed that fits with a nightstand. That doesn't matter how big the room is. It's more important the layout. It's not as important the square footage. You know, buyers have this problem all the time. They fall in love with the house and the MLS says it's 2,400 square feet. And then the appraisal comes in and they say it's 2,200 square feet. And they think the house is worth less now. Not worthless, worth less now. The house they saw, they loved, and they were willing to pay $245 for is the same house that just got measured at 2,200 square feet. And it's just helpful to remind them of that because your buyers get a little pissy, right? So the research is your house, competitive advantages is the big deal. You can't see me pointing to my screen because my camera's over here. You're going to find competitive advantages to the other ones, which means you're going to do the work. You've got to go in, you've got to dive. You can't skip this. I've seen an agent throw a spa together and just put in the numbers. Now, this is where the concept here was building trust with the seller. What builds trust with the seller is when you do the analysis of the comparables. And when you do it, you're going to have an air of confidence and competence about you that's going to show them that you care. Right? So this is not slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. Here's what Zillow says. Go for that. That's not value, guys. And there are some unique properties. You go to, you know, some of these cracker box subdivisions and see what people have done to their houses. I mean, you can spend $5,000 or $10,000 on landscaping and make a place look like a paradise where the builder put in a $1,500 landscape package. You know, what value does that add? It depends. It beautifies the property for some buyers. Some buyers don't care. They don't care of the yards anyway. So you're going to have to just use your, there's a word I'm searching for, but it's not coming through, your discretion. And there's no math to it. But when we do this, all we're doing is testing the market, right? If we get no showings, right? Here's two things you want to write down. There's like Begin's traits. If we get no showings and no offers, that means if we're getting showings and no offers, the public is rejecting the price, right? We find that a 5% price reduction will solve that problem. If you're getting no showings and no offers, that means the realtor community is rejecting your price. And we find a 10% price reduction solves that problem, right? So if you approach this, that we're testing the market, and here's something we're doing right now. In this short inventory market, we're telling the seller, you know, depending on your motivation, do you want to run it up the flagpole and see who salutes, right? So these houses are coming in at $346 a foot, $429, $451, $422, $490 a foot. So the average there is around $460 a foot, maybe, with one way down there with a pool at $346 a foot. How do you make sense of this? That's what I'm telling you. You're slicing and dicing.
Well, you're
Another
also
thing-
educating your seller too. If you've got a seller that's got a beautiful property like the one we're looking at Boca Ciega, the 429, but I don't see any mention about upgrades. I don't see any mention about recent remodels and things like that. You may have functional obsolescence. And that's the kind of thing that really affects an appraisal. So, and pricing. So as we're explaining the different properties that are available for comparables that are active, we also explain all the different upgrades that have been done, all the different nuances, the various things that are listed to the right. That makes a critical difference too, just to put that in the seller's lap to make them understand yes, I understand you have a beautiful home. You've raised your kids here. I see the marks on the kitchen wall where they've grown over the years. And I also see the hot tub that's an onyx black from 1990. And I know at 1990 you had all this put in, and it's beautiful for 1990, but it's now 2020. And some things do come back in style, but unfortunately, some things not so much. So functional obsolescence is a very important thing to point out to them.
100%. All right. So the spa is going to add up all these numbers. It's going to come up with an average, and you'll see the average for the can pays is $1,151,000. Then we're going to do the exact same exercise. And here's my advice. Use the same search criteria. The search criteria you use for actives, just simply change the status from active to sold and hit search. That's going to be your most likely parameters that are going to match. If that doesn't, then you start altering the search data, right? But you want to now do the same exercise and come up with what recently sold. And nowadays, that's crazy. I just did one for a property I was looking at buying, and the did pays, the can pays were literally $100,000 above the did pays.
Wow.
I mean, it was a 4-bedroom waterfront house with a pool, and we're running it up to flag. I didn't buy it. We're running it up to flagpole, and I think I was going to try to get it for like 530, and we're going to put it on the market at 625, just because there's no 4-bedroom pool homes out there. But that was a negotiation with the seller, who's not in an urgent situation that needs to have, he doesn't need to be in Texas, and he understands that we're testing the market, and if we don't get reactions in a week, we're going to drop it from 625 to 600. And if we don't get reaction at 600, we're going to drop it to 575. But those are stage reductions. And it really depends on the situation the seller's in. Can they afford to play the game? Because you'll find that there's a lot of options out there. So you get your 5 properties. In this case, the average did pays was $1,147,000. Holy cow, $1,151,000, $5,000, $4,000 apart. Refused to pays came in at $1,169,000. So this is a pretty tight market in here. There's lots of sales activity, lots of things to choose from, and that's where it goes. Now let's talk about reality today. You might have a hard time finding 5 can pays for sale properties. So let's say we're looking at a 4-bedroom, 3,000 square foot house with a pool, and there's nothing on the market. There's only 2 and in a 2-mile radius. What would you do? We got to get 5. This is, my dad has all these bullet points. 5. You've got to have 5. Okay. I'll tell you a story once. So my mom was working on a listing in Lithia, there's a home builder built this house to use as his model, and he lived in it. It's a 10,000 square foot house on a 5-acre piece of property in Lithia. And the guy wanted $2.5 million for it. Well, there ain't no $2.5 million house on 5 acres for $2.5 million in Lithia. So where did we go?
Further out.
We just searched MLS for $2.5 million houses. And the only $2.5 million houses that came up were over on the beaches or in South Tampa and Davis Island. So how do you compare that house at $2.5 million with a waterfront house on Davis Island or a waterfront house on Clearwater Beach? I mean, they were 30 miles apart, but there's no other comp. So we had to find 5. We had to find 5. And we explained to the seller that, look, there's nothing else competing with you. We have to build a market for you. In that case, I want a 2-year listing agreement because you built a white elephant, right? This just doesn't exist.
I had a property like that a few years ago, Lake Wisteria over in North Tampa. Land O'Lakes. This was a very unique property. It was sitting on a little over an acre, waterfront, beautiful property, but the house was built in the 60s. There was absolutely nothing in that area for the price that the seller wanted. And that's exactly what I did. I did a 2-year listing agreement with him. This was a seller I knew very well. He was in the director of Department of Corrections, and he trusted me because he knew I would tell him the truth, which very similar to the spot. I didn't have a whole lot to give him. And I stood by him with his price. We sold it. He got his price.
That's
It
awesome.
took us 13 months.
Let's talk about market knowledge, though. Now, you said it was waterfront.
Yes,
So Land O'Lakes waterfront to me is a joke.
lakefront. I misspoke. I meant to say lakefront. My bad.
But now this is where your knowledge comes in. If it's lakefront, is it boatable lake? Because
Yes,
a lake that
this
allows
was.
boats is more
Oh, yeah.
valuable than a lake that doesn't allow boats. If you're in Orlando, the
Absolutely.
chain of lakes is a huge value.
Yes, and that was
And
what this was.
if it
Lake
allows
Superior.
boats, does it allow electric boats or motorized gasoline powered boats? Are there engine restriction sizes? Right? All that stuff makes a difference. And you're going to be partnering with your seller to find out the benefits of not only the house, but the community it sits in.
Absolutely.
Well, Kat, tell me this. So here in Apollo Beach, there's two communities, same developer, different era. Covington Park is one and Waterset is the next. They literally connect to each other,
Mhm.
right?
They
And
do.
totally different markets, right? You can look at a 2,400 square foot house in Covington Park and a 2,400 square foot house in Waterset, and the price could be twice as much
That's right.
because the age of the house could be, could be 1997 to 2020.
Yeah.
So you
Completely
got to
different.
there's so many nuances, and the more you do, the more you learn. So that's why we try to keep you from going too far from home, if you will. Right. So pick your niche, get to know it. Other than that, prepare. I've spent hours on a single spot in an area where I didn't know. Now, in
Absolutely.
my neighborhood here, I can do it off the top of my head. I can do it on a scratch pad on the bar napkin, right? Because I know everything that's going on here. But I guess my big message here is there's no right or wrong. It's a negotiation. And with experience, you're going to figure it out, and definitely collaborate with other people when you're doing this as you're learning it.
Yeah, and if you have teammates that work in different areas, that can be very helpful. One person might be great in Land O'Lakes, one might be good in North Tampa, South Tampa, West Tampa, Davis Island. Somebody like me who's from Tampa and knows all these different areas and spent my life there, I was able to navigate all those markets quite easily. Switch it up and come over to Sarasota, I had to learn it from scratch. And teaming up with people made a big difference prior to switching up to management. So
We've got
think about that,
showings and no offers means the public is rejecting your price. No showings and no offers means the realtor community is rejecting your price, and that's a 10% discount. Kimberly, there you go.
Yep.
We've got a bunch of chats I want to address real quick. The only time I've had an issue with an appraisal is when the listing agent does not meet the appraiser with comps and improvements. Good point, Joe. Yep.
Thank you, Joe. And Joe knows he has a ton of experience.
Okay, let's look at the bottom left-hand corner of the spa. It says, how did we pick 800 to 2 million?
From what
It's
we know.
random, but we just want to get a pace of the market. This is just to show the seller, look, there are 17 homes on the market in this price range. This market is waterfront homes in Reddington Shores, Reddington Beach, North Reddington Beach, Madeira Beach, Bel Air Beach, and Indian Rocks Beach. That's basically the Gulf beaches. There's only 17 waterfront homes for sale between $800 and $2 million. There have been 21 sold in the last 6 months, which means we're selling at a pace of 4 homes a month. This is very important for a seller to understand. There's 17 for sale. There's 4 selling a month. So we've got a 5-month supply of homes. So I missed part of the last class. Did Jeff get into the seller's cost estimator?
He
Can we
did.
tell slow versus fast?
Yeah.
Slow
he did.
versus fast. If it's going to take on average 5 months of supply in this example for all these houses to be absorbed, barring no new ones come on the market. So if you want to sell fast, we got to go lower. If you have time, we can go higher. If your house is really, really nice, we can go higher. If your house really needs updates, you can go lower, right? So it's a gauge. It's just going to meter back and forth as you get experience doing it. And then that's the overall market of the Gulf beaches. If we look at Madeira Beach itself, there's only 1 home for sale between $800 and $2 million in Madeira Beach. And there's only been 1 sale in the last 6 months. So there's a 6-month supply of homes. That just educates them to sit back and go, wow.
And not to toot our own horn, but I'm going to, we're the only brokerage who does this. This strategic pricing analysis is what gives the seller the education and the power to own the pricing for the property. Everybody else will walk in from other brokerages with a quick CMA or something really pretty put together in a package with comparables, but none of them do this. This is very much analytical to the point, at a glance. Sellers love it because they can see it all in one snapshot. They don't want to flip through massive papers. They don't. They want to see it one thing, and they don't want to see just pictures of pretty houses side by side with what it sold for, what it sold for. And another thing that we can do too on the competitive advantages that I always did when I'm presenting to my sellers what they did pay, and it's really important, especially if there's a market where sellers are offering closing cost assistance. In competitive advantages, I would always stick that in there, what kind of concessions the sellers gave, because if you're in a heavy VA market, FHA market, let's say Ruskin or sections of Apollo Beach, sections of Tampa, where it's a strong military community, sections of Brandon, where there's a strong military community, and same thing in Bradenton over here. When an offer comes to that seller and it's asking for closing cost assistance and you never discuss that with them, they're going to be kind of shocked and put off by it. So that's something you can put in there, just one more thing that shows them, not only do I understand what's selling, but I also understand what sellers are doing to make it sell, in addition to what the house looks like, the comparables, what's into the house, all the upgrades, and so forth.
Well, let's also remember the neighborhood is important too,
Absolutely.
right? Are
Yeah.
there CDDs? Are the CDDs high? Are they reasonable? Are the amenities worth the cost of the CDD?
Absolutely.
School districts, you can have, the school district line runs, a house on this side of the street goes to a different school than this side of the street. They have different values, guys, right? So that's all stuff you got to pull out. The school zone, the water, if you get to waterfront, my God, are there any bridges you have to go through? How far are you to the open water? How deep is it at your dock? Is there a lift? How much is the lift worth? How
Right.
much can it carry? All those things are what makes up your competitive advantages. So this is where you're negotiating with the seller to tell them all the different things. Like this one's a large deep water dock with a 12,000-pound lift, private resident only beach access blocks away, and has a 3-car garage. Right. You can't, sometimes you have to add more to this.
And then when you're working in condo communities, it really gets tricky because some condo communities have a plethora of amenities, others don't. Some allow you to have a boat with a dock that's deeded to the property. Some of it is the association property, what's deeded, what's not. And then when you're getting into financing, then you have to look behind the condo scene to see what kind of budget they have. Is it a healthy budget? Is there any ongoing litigation? What are the master association insurance decks covering? The master deck page. So as a listing agent, you got to have copies of all this stuff ready to roll to put into the MLS and have it ready to show the seller too. Because when you want to really shine in front of that seller, when you're dealing with multi-million-dollar condo communities or the $500,000 and below communities, the more you can express that you know about that condo community and the declarations and the budget and everything else, the more they're going to have confidence in not only do you know the community, but you really understand what makes this particular condo community tick. And in areas like Sarasota and Clearwater and parts of Tampa, they're loaded with condos. And it could be a very nice, lucrative way to make a living as a listing agent and representing buyers by understanding those condo communities. Because once you get your foot in the door, you're likely to get multiple listings over and over again from that same community.
That's right. We'll talk about this tomorrow, but when you're talking about condos, I think the best advice you could give a buyer of a condo is to request the last 6 months worth of meeting minutes, right? We actually got sued over this once. A seller did not disclose a upcoming special assessment. And it's a long story, but the minutes of the condo meeting will tell what's going on in the community.
Absolutely.
And a buyer of a condominium needs to sit down and read those minutes and find out, is it a petty community where they fine you for not wearing your shirt in the hallway?
That's
Or
true.
if your dog poops on the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Are they talking about that stuff in the meetings? Is that the type of place you want to live?
Yeah.
Or do
Very
you
true.
want a strict, clear place, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's not right.
Very
So what
true.
are the differences? So school zones are important as a competitive advantage, could be. It could be a detriment. Apollo Beach, where we are here, the school zone is a detriment. We have C and D level schools. We just have really good waterfront. So some people trade the waterfront for the schools, right? So school zones, waterfront type, lake, water, canal, bay, ocean, Gulf. What else?
Community amenities, local shopping centers, medical facilities. Apollo Beach has an amazing hospital right there on the corner of Big Bend that services the community quite well. I remember when it wasn't there.
right.
Just like Tampa General has a fantastic teaching hospital, cardiac units, one of the best in Florida. Brandon's got a wonderful maternity ward over in the Brandon Hospital. So each community has its presentations as far as medical facilities, shopping facilities, and job opportunities. Those are all things that are played into the picture.
Yeah, because you're not only selling a house, you're selling the community. When I was a listing agent back many, many moons ago, there was a woman named Betty Kennedy, and she was this, I mean, we're talking the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. Betty would do millions of dollars in commissions a year. She sold all high price stuff. And I was a kid. And she would come out here when I had high price listings. And she was amazing because she was very overweight and she didn't walk very well because she was old. And she would pull up in her big Cadillac and tell me to get in. And then I would go and I would point out I worked in this neighborhood. I worked for the developer, my dad. And I would point out, this is the boat ramp, this is security, this is the community pool, this is a community clubhouse, this is a community beach. And I'd sell her customers on the benefits of the community before we got to the house. And then we get to the house and she'd like, go on, show it to them. And she'd sit in her car because most of these were elevated homes, right? And then I'd show them. And I, as the listing agent, knew the features and the benefits of the house better than anybody else. So as a listing agent, I would point out the features and benefits to make sure they knew what they were, right? Those are the things that make it different, right? Make us different and give a better experience. Because we're talking about building trust with our sellers through pricing. So can you see how it's more laborious to do it this way? But can you see how much better it makes you as an agent to explain and they'll see the value in what you're bringing them?
And they tell their friends too. I will tell you, you can develop a repeat customer portfolio very fast by going above and beyond and doing the extra little things to make sure you've helped them from the very beginning to the end of the process. This is not just about getting a sale. This is relationship building. And a lot of your clients that start out as clients will become dear friends to you. I will tell you, I have a lot of clients that are now very close friends of mine that I've represented over the years in the real estate capacity. And they came back time and time again, not because of the fact that I was able to service this area, but because I always told them the truth. Because no matter how hard it was to have to tell them, look, Mr. Seller, as much as you love your home, this is where we're at. This is the price you wanted. And it's time to revisit this. And talking about that, you revisit with your clients every week. You catch up with them and you don't just send them a text. You don't email them. I will tell you, my clients would be horribly offended. If I sent a text, I would get a big fat right there. They want to hear your voice. And sometimes they want to look at you on the phone, on FaceTime. They want to see your face when you're telling them some good news or bad news. They want to, because they're going to read you. Don't kid yourself. Think of your clients like your jury. They're looking at everything that's coming out of your mouth. They're looking at everything that you do. They're looking at how you dress, how you walk, how you talk, everything. So you're building trust from the very beginning to the very end, and then follow up with them, not just at the time of the sale, not just, oh, this is great. Here's a bottle of wine. See ya. It's relationship.
Martin just asked a question. So tell me again how you came up with the numbers in the competing price range. You want to know? It's a very big secret. I pulled them out of the air, right? I did. It felt good. This works. Because I had enough data to show. Now, I probably went 800 to 2 million on this one because I only had one sale I could find. And I had to go back 6 months to find it. So I just kept expanding the range until I found it. If I could have found it in a narrower range, like ideally for this would probably be 1 million to 1.2 million, 1 million to 900 to 1.3 million would probably be a better range for something like this.
Sure.
But I didn't have the data in this example, because there's only one home sale. So I had to go back and use that. Okay. So the other thing is when we're testing the market, markets change, markets are dynamic. So today, this are the 5 best competing houses. And this is where you'll see when a market starts to shift. So let's use these examples. So the can pays drive value, right? Because that's, if the solds are gone, the expireds are not on the market. So what's for sale is what's for sale. Now, if today this is for sale, and tomorrow a 3-bedroom house that's 2,700 square feet comes on the market at $1 million as a fire sale, what just happened?
Shift.
Market shifted, right? So when the market, it's like the stock market. When the stock market goes up, everybody's buying, and then suddenly it crashes and people sell. So it's just dynamic watching. But when you take the time to educate the seller through this process and they're collaborating with you to make it, then a new one comes on the market and you say, hey, seller, we have a new competitor and it's prettier than you and the price is lower. We need to get your price down so you're more attractive than that one. Or conversely, hey, a new one came on the market. It's a lot higher. It's going to help us sell your house. So let's stay hard on our price because the competition's coming in higher.
And don't overlook Remind. When you're looking for those comparables, I have found lately Remind snatching up a few extras that I wasn't able to find in the MLS. That's very, very helpful. We have excellent training offerings on that too, for anybody that's interested.
Dick said, I use high and low from active and sold. I don't know what that means on the MLS.
I think he's meaning from the Real Aim and from the IMAP.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the ranges.
The ranges, yeah. And Real Aim does offer that range.
And something else that this form's not showing, I don't know why. Down here, I suggest you show them, call it out. Call out the Zestimate, call out the Real AVM or CoreLogic, or call out the Redfin value valuation. They'll all be different. And that's going to add more professionalism to you. Because when they see Zillow says it's $1.1 million, but Redfin says it's $1.3 million, and CoreLogic said it's $1.4 million, it just kind of debunks the whole concept of an AVM, automatic valuation model.
Absolutely. Right? And sometimes some of these algorithms are lumping in waterfront properties with pond properties, with pool properties, and you've got a property that doesn't have any of those things, and it's pulling in all that. You have to really dissect through the mire. So the inaccuracies are just riddled throughout with these estimates. And
so what we used to do, we're coming to an end here, but when we did live classes, we would actually pick a property and tell everybody in the class to go home tonight and do a spa on that property. And that was a fascinating experience. And it really taught everybody what I've been telling you this whole time. It changes, right?
Yeah.
You know, you found out you're a St. Pete agent in Apollo Beach and we picked an Apollo Beach property. You had a really hard time coming up with a good spa, but you were an Apollo Beach agent in Apollo Beach market. It was easier for you because you had seen the marketplace.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you guys to do that tonight. Do a spa on the home you're living in.
Yes.
Go find 5 houses that are most similar to yours, right? Because you're intimate with yours. You know what the advantages and things are. And then really go find 5 houses for sale, just like yours, or as close to yours as you can. Fill in all the fields in the spa, and then do the same thing for the solds. Do the same thing for the expireds, and practice. You know, we've been talking about practice because we're building a long-term career here, a very, very valuable and profitable career, and it takes time. Kat, how long did it take you to get your law degree?
Oh God.
How much did it
Total
cost?
amount of school. I was in school a total of 14 years because I decided to get a master's on top of it all. A little bit of
14 years and a rough estimate of cost.
But average about, with all of it together, $350,000.
Okay, so let's compare that to the real estate license. How many hours?
60 hours for the class.
How much cost?
Education. And then you learn by the seat of your pants. Now you have a good
$350 course in 63 hours to get a real estate license. You had 14 years and $350,000 in expense. Do you make more money as a real estate agent or a lawyer in your career?
Oh no, I made triple the money in real estate. And let me tell you, on education, They don't give you any guidance. They just throw you into it. You don't have anybody giving you feedback on how you're doing your cases. You don't have anybody giving you feedback on how your motion hearings are going. So as a very proactive individual, you go to the judges and you talk to them. Hey, what did you think of this? What did you think of that? Let's take the names out of it. So you had to solicit feedback constantly. And I'm one of those who always did, because I wanted to be the hot dog, the number one, and win, which they appreciated it too, because then they can give their input. Where you're lucky here in real estate, which I think it's just a tremendous blessing, is you have education and a support system all the time in this brokerage, not others, this brokerage. And again, it's not because I'm sitting here in the chair as a manager. I'm saying this from my agent experience, because my brain is always going to be wired agent first and management second. No offense to you. I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just, I'm always thinking, what do they need? What do they want? And then I incorporate the rest.
Right.
You're not going to get that experience without this kind of support.
So in my unromantic and unsexy way, I'm telling you, you got to invest some time and practice these things. We're talking about a professional career here, where like a lawyer would be considered professional with the amount of money it costs to get trained as a lawyer and the amount of time it takes to get trained as a lawyer versus this industry where it's $350 in a 63-hour class online to make more money. You're going to have to, if you're going to make the big bucks in real estate, you're going to have to be practiced and good. And that's why we go through the systems we go through. So,
Yep. And the real estate paid off 3/4 of my student loans. How about that? I couldn't pay them off working in government. You know why? You
Wow.
don't make enough. You don't clear enough. Think about it.
very good. So the next up on the agenda is you and Deb, isn't it?
It is. It is. And it's step-by-step guide to servicing your listing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Everybody's going to enjoy this. And it's going to be well worth your time. And I'm so
Are you
happy.
going through the dot loop checklist? Are you doing the dot loop checklist on servicing listings?
We're doing that and more. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
we are.
All right, guys. Well, now, so we did the process, right? We practiced, we prospected, we previewed the property, we prepared, we made a presentation, we then did a pricing presentation, and then we processed. We talked about that. You're going to submit for review through dot loop. And now you got a listing. What the hell do you do? Right? Because it's not just put it on the MLS and hope it sells. Right? If you're going into it that attitude, it's not going to work for you. There are specific steps that you can do that will 100% make this house more saleable. Right? And it's your job to do it. Remember, we charge 3% and we earn it. And that's a lot of money, but you're going to earn it. So that's it. Is Deborah in the room yet? Yep, Deb is. Mike, would you make Deb co-host? Because we have 1 minute left.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. I think that's good. Guys, I wish I could be more concrete with you on the spot, but the answer is it depends. You got to slice and dice and there's no right or wrong. It's all subject to an opinion of value.
And it's practice.
And it's practice.
Yeah. And after a while, it's like rolling off a log.
Okay, Deborah, turn your camera on if you can. There she is.
Good afternoon,
All right.
everyone.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. So Craig, we've got a PowerPoint we're going to go through.
Okay, you
Can
can
we
share your
get
screen.
into this?
You're co-host, so you can share screens.
Okay, good.
We got an amazing PowerPoint presentation. You all are going to love this.
All righty.
Wow.
Let me move. So had to class it up just a little bit for y'all. This is really a step-by-step guide to servicing. I'm so glad you and Craig went through what you did right before this, because this really flows, doesn't it, Kathleen, from what y'all
Totally
just did?
does. Yes, it does.
I need to turn you up a little bit. Okay. So now what? You've got a listing. Now what?
Great.
You caught the fish. How the heck do you cook and clean it, or clean it and cook it? You know?
That's it.
So what we've done is we want to take you on a little walk with the seller and help them understand what the buyer's seeing through the buyer's eyes. because you've got to create these expectations up front. And you start with what y'all did with pricing the home and getting the seller prepared for what to expect before the listing goes active. You have to maintain, I think, and Kat, you can jump in at any time, but you got to maintain that consistency after you get the listing about what you've set up front, because the expectations, things are going to change. It may sit on the market, it may not sit on the market, but you've got to stay in constant communication. So,
And before
setting
we
the
jump into that, I would like to introduce Deborah Haley, and I'd like Deborah to give a little bit of her background because she's got an incredible background. I think everyone here needs to hear about it. She's an amazing person. She's a mentor to me. I worked with her. She was a wonderful manager in Sun City Center. And with that being said, Deborah, tell everybody a little bit about your background and what got you here.
thank you. That was a great introduction already. I've been in real estate 38 years, guys. And I've been in many, many facets of real estate. And I really love what I do with managing the agents. I've been managing for Craig for 14 years, and I've been with Bagans for 18 years. As of the 6th of this month, I'll be with Bagans 18 years. So it's been an incredible journey with Bagans. And I will tell you, I've been through and seen many brokers, know many brokers, but we are so fortunate to have who we have to work with. And have Craig as a broker and have the whole management team that we have, because you don't find this anywhere else, do you, Kat? You don't.
No, you don't. You don't.
You don't find the support or anything. So that is one of the, big reasons I'm still here, is because I love the broker, but I love this company. I love what we do for the agents more. There's and because of that, it really helps us all grow together and do well together. Hence, we are number 1 in Florida, in the southeastern United States, and number 14 in the US. That says a lot for this brokerage. And I know it sounds like an infomercial, but it's true. There's just so much wonderful support we have that, if you want to make money, this is the place to be. That's why I'm here, and we have the best agents. You guys are rock stars if you're with us. And if you want to be with us, talk to us after this is done. That's my infomercial.
Well, and
And,
the little thing she left out too is Deborah's got a very strong commercial background. So for those of you interested in the commercial side, we have a huge commercial real estate side to our brokerage, not just residential. We
Absolutely.
have quite a few. There's about 15 different agents that are specialized just in that. And I learned a great deal about commercial from Deborah. So I can tell you firsthand, she knows her stuff on commercial. So this is something.
Commercial's fun, and it's up and coming.
It
Over
is.
the next, I think, 5 years, we're going to see a big boom in commercial. We're already starting to see it around us in the South Shore area, and I know everywhere the beaches are exploding. Look what Jeff is doing and stuff. So thank you so much for the intro.
Yeah.
You are an attorney. You've been an attorney for years, and I can't believe you jumped into real estate, but I'm so glad you did, because you're bringing all that knowledge with you, and it helps us to get a good, clear perspective on everything.
Keep you out of jail.
Keep us out of jail.
Yes, I love everybody here. And my agents will tell you, I'm extremely analytical. We share the loops, as part of the training. When you want to talk to one of us, let us know. Because as part of the training, when we're doing dot loop training and so forth, you'll find out real quick that we share the loops with the agents, not because we're nosy and want to get into the stuff. We're there to be able to help you, because we do everything. Our iPads, pretend that's an iPad, or the desktop computers. So let's say that you're at the beach and I'm over here at the office grinding away. No, just kidding. And you have a question about contract. Well, instead of hypothetically wondering which contract it is and so forth, we share those apps with one another. So these are just a couple little things I want to throw in there before we get into our PowerPoint presentation. There's so much that we offer in a plethora of tools. It's a fun place to work. We love it.
It is. Yeah, we're fun. Aren't we fun?
We are. We are.
So, wait till you see what we have for you.
Yeah.
So, setting the expectations for the sellers, they got to look at it through the home buyer's eyes. They got to look at their home through the home buyer's eyes. And it makes them really take a step back and see this as a commodity. Studies show it takes 10 seconds to make a first impression. When you're selling a house, the bad first impression is a deal breaker. If the exterior is cringeworthy, Buyers won't walk through that front door. That's the absolute truth. They'll never see the stunning master suite or any of the upgrades that seller may have done. That's true.
Very
You know,
much
even
so.
if the outside is plain Jane with no flowers, it's grass in the yard, you need to put some flowers in that yard, and we'll go into that as we go through these slides. But, you know, this is, you've got to, that expectation for that seller has to stay focused on, I now have a product on the market.
Exactly.
And that's really it, right?
It's a commodity. It's no longer
It
your
is.
home. You have to
It's a
take the
commodity.
asset.
Let me make this a
The
little bit bigger.
expectation.
Oops.
Okay.
Oops.
It'll come back.
I took it out. There we go. Hit the wrong button here. I was trying to get under my.
There we are.
go. No, I keep, sorry, guys. I'll just leave it on this.
There we go.
Okay. So setting the expectations, we're here to give advice, encouragement, and direction to our sellers to maximize their price on their home in the time frame they need to sell. That's our job. You guys are talking about pricing the homes on the last hour, which
Yep.
was remarkable. I love Craig's input on this because it is, he's so clear on everything. And that is exactly the way we need to be with our sellers. And, you know, properly pricing these homes, everybody, all our sellers do want to push the prices now, which with Kat, with you guys and us, I'm okay with pushing prices as long as we have a clear communication up front saying, okay, in 2 weeks, if we don't get any offers, if we don't get any showings, we're coming down 5%.
Correct.
Have
And-
those
and
adjusted
we
in.
separate the emotions from the pricing because sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, it's hard for a seller to let go of that house that they've raised their family in, that
Yep.
house that they watched their children grow up in. And to them, that house is always going to be worth a lot more because of the emotion than what it actually is. So it's our jobs to kindly walk them through that process so that
That's
they're not
right.
disappointed when that house sits on that market for 6 months with no offers, no showing. And
Yeah.
we didn't take the time to tell them, you know, I agree with you. I remember Mary Jane when she was in the kitchen. I remember Billy too. But you know what? This is what we're dealing with and this is where you need to be. So let me help you get there.
Yeah. So one of the things we can recommend is an appraisal, that the seller get an appraisal before we list it.
Yes.
This way, it at least gives him the expectation and the knowledge of what an appraiser will look at when he has a buyer coming in to buy the house. And I know the prices are going up right now. So, and things are fluid. Actually, they're very fluid in some areas. So, but an appraisal will set that expectation. The seller will know. And even if he says, well, the appraiser said I can only, you know, they'll appraise it for 340. Well, I want to put it at 375. Well, if there's nothing on the market, I just did this today with one of the agents. I got nothing. There's no active listings on this one listing we're taking. So what do? You can roll the dice
You can.
and run it up the flagpole. We used to call running it up the flagpole
Yeah.
and
yeah.
see if anybody will salute it and see if they'll come to the table with an offer. If not, then we've got to keep bringing those prices down.
With the caveat,
recommend-
this is where you
yeah.
want it to be, but understand if we're not getting an action with us with a certain amount of time, we're going to revisit this. I'm going to update you each week. I'm going to let you know what's happening. You know, they're going to have a good idea themselves, especially when they're still living in the house and trying to sell it. Now we're seeing more people that have bought their second homes and moved out, and that's
Yeah.
actually made selling a whole lot easier than having it, especially with COVID-19.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're going to get into COVID too toward the end of today to really set up some standards for you guys. You need to discuss staging, a staging company, recommend a staging company, or tell the sellers what they can do to stage your home. Rearrange furniture, declutter. I know, Kat, you don't like decluttering, so we're going to
Depersonalize. Teach
Get the
the
stuff out.
sellers to make that. I always tell my sellers, make it look almost like a hotel room. You know, when you walk into a hotel room, what do you see? It's open. It's depersonalized. You don't want your child's pictures all over the internet. You don't want law enforcement badges, pictures all over the internet. You don't want all that personal. So you depersonalize. And I choose that word because I remember one time a listing I had in Waimama. It was full of antiques. And as soon as I walked in there, I fell in love with it. It was an amazing house. And that house was hard to comp. And long story short, I said, well, we'll have to depersonalize some things, but we can work through the process. I got hired because I didn't use the word declutter. So there you have it.
There you go. So you may have a challenge too with people like dead animal heads on their walls.
Yes, you have to depersonalize those creatures
depersonalize.
back and go
Those
into
little
the closets. Yes, I had that too.
You know, I've had those. You got to take them down, but those are my trophies. Well, they're not. People might not like those.
They will scare the children. They will scare women like me. So, yeah.
So one of the challenges we're having right now with listings is people like a lot of color in their homes. I mean, that is the thing now. You know, we went from Ralph Lauren to the darker colors now to the bright colors. That's wonderful while they're living there. But the best thing you can do is tell this seller, you need to neutralize.
We
Go
don't
to
want
neutral
this.
soft colors.
Please
You want
don't be
that?
color.
Let's do that, you know, because then the buyer can walk in and really focus on what they can do with it themselves.
And feel it themselves. The whole idea is for the buyer to walk in there and go, oh, I can see this there. I can see my Chase Lounge over there. I can see my chandelier up here. They want to see
Yeah.
themselves in there. They don't want to walk in and say, oh my God, this place looks like a moratorium. Is this
Yeah.
a museum?
Yeah, we've had those too. Create curb appeal. Okay, seller or buyer drives up to see the house. They get out of the car. That yard needs to be mowed. You need to have beds with flowers or pots with flowers. You need to have a welcoming entryway. You need to have everything clean, pretty, brushed off on the front, power washed. That seller needs to do a lot of stuff. And this is, you know, this is advice that you've got to continue on with the seller, because as you're listed this house, after you've listed it, there's stuff they may not have completely done. There's stuff that you're hearing from the buyer's agents now going, oh, it smells like smoke. This is stuff you've got to address and continue on. So this is part of the communication. So
We don't
when you
like that
address this-
sofa on the front porch. Why is there a lazy boy chair on the front porch? Why is the
Yeah.
garage open and we can see all the clutter from 1900?
Yep. So that's all got to be addressed with the seller. And I know sometimes it takes a while. It may take a while to depersonalize and get rid of stuff and get pods. It's a good thing to do is recommend pods. You've got to highlight the home's best features. So we've gone from outside to inside.
And we also
Yeah.
can let them know about people that will come by, like the Lighthouse for the Blind, that'll help them take
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
out of the house if they would like to have some things donated to help clear the house out. Those are very helpful suggestions.
Estate sales are amazing because they'll come in, they'll organize everything, they'll get stuff sold, and what they don't sell, they'll take with them. The buyer's making a little money, the house is getting cleaned out. You know,
Yep.
that's a good thing to do. And if you're going to do a estate sale after you list a house, which half the time we do here, actually for one selfish purpose, it really helps drives buyers to the house. And so you can, as an agent, you can stand there with these estate sales and hand out your flyers.
And
you got people
Century
coming in.
21 gives a discount on pods in case you need to use pods.
That's right. That's
They
right.
do offer a discount. So that's a good thing for your seller to know.
Yeah, and moving companies.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things also is having a home inspection done and fixed and everything fixed before you get the listing. We go into the pre-loved homes with our company on this. If they will do this, it will, I guarantee you, help this house sell faster and probably for a little bit more money. If they have a home inspection, they got that report sitting there on the table with everything taken care of with the receipts. They are going to be really very comfortable making an offer on this house.
And you bridge trust by offering that to your sellers and explaining how effective it is. And
Yeah.
if the seller wants you to be there during it, you can do it because then you'll be on knowledge, you'll be on notice of whatever the issues are. So it'll have to be disclosed in the seller's disclosure. If that's if issues come up, the seller will, if they don't get it fixed, and then whatever has been repaired, of course, the seller will let everybody know what they've gotten repaired. But I will tell you, it's a huge trust builder. I had clients that had homes in the 70s and 60s. First thing I said is, before we list, we need the inspection because you don't know what lies beneath the panel, the roofing, and so forth. And it'll save that seller so much money and heartache. And once they get that done, they got a clean bill of sale. When the buyer comes along, and the inspector will say it. And I can't tell you how many times this has come up for me. This home's already been inspected. There's a little sticker here. This house is in great shape. I don't have any major issues to report to you, Mr. Buyer. Your sellers are so happy. They did it up
Yeah,
front.
Yeah, half the time they won't even get a home inspection because they've got yours. It's just brand new.
That's exactly
But that's
right.
A lot of ease of mind. You're not going to be quibbling back and forth during the inspection periods. It just alleviates a lot of things. So the seller's expectations needs to know why this is so good for him to do. The other
Yeah.
thing is getting a preliminary title search. You know, this way there's no hidden things, and there may not be, but you know, we won't know until a real title search is done. And if there's any discrepancies on the title, it's better to know up front so we can address them. And then this way, when we go get under contract and start doing everything, we won't come across any surprises.
And
we
you
don't want
close on
surprises.
time. And you
Yeah,
will
we
close on
close
time.
Absolutely.
Multiple times. I've had multiple situations come up to where a seller thought that they had a satisfaction of mortgage on a property and they had bought another property and they
Mhm.
didn't. I can think of 3 closings right off the top of my head that had I not done this, we would not have closed on time.
That's right. Absolutely. So I got a cute little story. One of my deals I had many years ago, I was getting a listing. It's good. We went to go to closing. We got a buyer for it. Great. They did the title search. They found the previous seller had, when they closed, there was 4 kids on it with the parents on the house. 4 kids signed off, parents signed off, title company closed. Well, there was a 5th child. He was in prison. Nobody went to prison to get his signature, and they closed on it. That had to be all redone.
Yeah.
All redone. And so we couldn't close. We were delayed 30, 45 days. So they got this off the, off the title and stuff. So had we done a preliminary title search back then, this would have come up. We would have known about it. We could have worked through it until we went to closing and had a good closing. But instead we had to hold off 30 days. So things come up, guys.
Well,
All
you and
types
I
of
had
things,
one
hard to
last year.
say.
Remember the one you and I had where the title was, the description of the survey was done on a number of properties and the survey was done incorrectly. And we had to backtrack. The original attorney, thank God they're still alive
Yeah.
and they were practicing. To
Yes.
the
Yes.
deed, remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
That was good, Lauren. That was really good. The title search. Our title company caught that.
Yeah.
And we had to
I
bring
mean,
the other title attorneys that didn't want to do the work that was necessary because they kept saying, well, they represent the buyers. No, you're a title company attorney, you represent the transaction. And there was a lot of confusion with that. And you and I collaborated on that, remember?
Yeah, that's a big deal because that originally closed. I sold that piece of property in 2004.
Right.
I had a buyer for it, so he bought it. So then they listed it and sold it with us years later.
Right.
And when they closed back then, they didn't do it properly.
No.
And it went through an attorney's back then. So yeah, we had a little while. I'm so glad you were on that, Kat, because we had the attorneys, and when they figured out you were an attorney, they were able to, you had a lot of legalese going on.
Because they didn't want to respect what we were telling them. I'm so sorry, Mr. Lawyer. This is one situation where you really don't know what you're talking about, but you have to diplomatically explain that. So having the credentials helped, put the fire under it, and we closed. Yay.
Yeah, we closed. All closings are good when they close.
Yes.
So you've got to think about the condition of the house, and we're spending a lot of time on this because this doesn't just happen up front, guys, because you're going to have sellers that go, I don't want to fix anything, or I can't afford to fix anything. So you've got a situation there, but you've got to keep in front of them and discussing what has to happen, especially before we get a buyer in. So you got to discuss repairs, replacements, permits. We're fortunate we can search permits now with Hillsborough, Pinellas, Sarasota County, Manatee County, and see for ourselves what's open in there. Any upgrades, we have to have a discussion about that, because you can walk into a situation like this. I'm going to blow this up. I'm going to blow this up so y'all can see this.
This is a real listing. Not ours. We didn't do this.
Condition, look at, he's taking a nap. But I mean, if you're going to walk in there and try and list this house, first thing you're going to say is, well, no livestock in the house.
Yeah, there's lots of liability with that.
No livestock in the house. So, but there will be times when y'all will come across situations you're going to go walk in and go, oh my God, what do I do? Well, you got to chunk it down a little at a time. You've got to educate the seller.
Yep, instead of a pig, it might be a pit bull.
Yeah,
Serious
Yeah.
stuff, guys. Strict liability. You don't want that dog getting out and biting people.
nope,
There's no
nope.
one bite rule. Florida abolished that in 1978. You don't get a
Yep.
free bite.
Yeah, no free bites. So, you've got to discuss the age of the roof. Right now, the roof could look amazing outside. I had this discussion today with a listing we're getting too. The roof is 17 years old. Actually, it was a contract. Looks great. It's watertight, looks great. Is it going to be insurable? I don't know. Insurance companies are now pulling the plug at 15 years on most shingle roofs, and because they don't want to insure it over 15 years old. So it depends on the insurance carrier, but you need to know who their insurance carrier is, the sellers, so you can give that information to the buyer so maybe they can use the same insurance carrier and keep the insurance going, or that roof may have to be replaced.
Yeah, with FHA loans and VA loans, if there's not a certain amount of life left in that roof, guess what? It's not going to
that's
fly.
true. Yeah, it's not going to fly. The age of the HVAC systems. How old is the air conditioner? We've had them 18, 19 years old and working. I don't know. But you need, because discussing all these conditions, even during the listing period before you get a buyer, when you get a buyer, this is all going to come up if these have not been taken care of. You should know what type of plumbing you've got. The seller should. Maybe they don't. Maybe they've been in there 2 years. They don't have an idea. It could have polybutylene, cast iron, galvanized.
And the
especially on
seller might
older
have a
houses.
transferable home warranty. It's really a good idea to get a seller's home warranty.
Absolutely,
Each
absolutely.
property I list, I've done this for years. If the seller, for some reason, is short on the money, I will go ahead and sponsor that for them to make sure they have a home warranty on that property. It really gives peace of mind. Then the buyer feels like they're walking into a home that if there's a problem with the air conditioner, okay, well, I know I have a home warranty and I know they're going to come out and fix it.
Yeah, and so, because that will cover your appliances, even if they're older. It'll cover quite a few things on the home warranty that's transferable. Or if the seller decides to get offer a home warranty to the buyers, which they should, then they can get the home warranty for $75 through the 6 months of their listing period, and they don't have to pay it unless they have a claim, which
Correct.
is cool.
Yep.
But they do have to give a home warranty to the buyers, and that's worth $500, guys. It's worth all the money in the world,
Piece of
especially on
money.
older homes.
Piece
You
of
know? So you've got a lot of condition issues to talk about. I mean, age of flooring, the baths, the kitchens, the pools. This all plays into pricing, which y'all covered last hour, but it truly does. And I know the seller has lived there. You've listed it. You've now got it active. But if they're not willing to, if they can't do any of the upgrades, and a lot of times they can't, they're going to pay for the upgrades either off the price of their house and not being able to upgrade, or putting upgrades in. They've got to pick.
Mhm.
Because they don't get the high-end prices, better prices for, dated kitchens and bathrooms and pools that need to be repaired, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So these are discussions that are ongoing through your listing.
And sometimes sellers want to give credits, and sometimes they don't want to do any of the work, and they might be willing to give a credit based off of what it would cost for, let's say, an invoice on carpeting or flooring or this or that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that is when you're dealing with the inspection period and stuff, when you get when the inspection permit, the inspection reports back. If you've got sellers like we do here in Sun City, we got people that they can't do it. They're older. They don't have the money, or they just can't do it, and they don't want to, so they can put money out there at them. So, the money, if you need a lot of repair, your money's going to go there, or you're going to put the repairs in. Either way, you're going to have to spend the money.
Right.
The permits is a big issue and has been for the last 10 years now. This is a big deal, because what happens if we close on a house that has open permits or expired permits or anything, that new buyer inherits them. That becomes their problem. Most buyers, and if they've got good agents like us on the buyer side of the deal, are going to insist on the pulling the permits, looking at them, and insist the seller close them out or take care of them. So that is a major issue, especially when you're dealing with older houses. Here in Sun City, we have a lot of little handymen that are bored. They put on rooms. They put on
Palm Beach
bathrooms.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, without
Palm Beach,
permit.
I've seen them too.
So,
Oh,
they've got to go back and get an engineer to inspect everything, to bring that to code. They've got to do before they can sell it. They've got to go through the steps, spend the money that they were trying to save, before, to get everything to where it should be, to be able to close the property. Even the title companies don't like to close any property with open permits anymore.
and if you're lucky, if there was work done, let's say there's a expired permit or an open permit and it was done by a contractor, you chase down that contractor and you call, because trust me, you will have to call them a gazillion times for them to pick up, and you'll say, it's me again. And they will close it out with the county because they know they're responsible for doing that to begin with.
That's true.
Or if there was an expired permit and the work was never done, you schedule an appointment and the county inspector will come out and see that the work wasn't done and it'll be closed. So getting them closed out is not life and death. You just have to explain to your seller that, hey, look, this is a process, but it's an easy process. This is what you do, and this is how you get it done. Now, you're going to find from time to time when you represent sellers that are out of state, they're not here to do all that legwork. So that's going to be you running around to get it done. That's
Right.
not very often, but when it does happen, you have the tools and the wherewithal to know how to do it. Because you know the process. You get down to the county, you sit there in the line, you let them know what needs to be closed out. Here's a proof of the permit that was done, blah, 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 and you'll get it done. You just can't overlook and say, yeah, I'll get to it manana, because when it comes to permits and the county or the city for getting these things closed, it's manana. You
Yeah, they're
have
backed up.
to stay on them and babysit them. And you have to be nice. Even if you've called them 15 times and they keep telling you that they've done it when they haven't, you have to say, I'm so glad. It's so nice to talk to you. By the way, would you please? You can't say, look, you bunch of idiots, I've asked you 15 times to do this and you still haven't done it. No, you can't come at them like that because they're sensitive and we got to be respectful, and it's our reputations.
And if you think about it, what's getting done right now? We got a ton of homes being built. Do you
A
think they're
ton.
stretched? They're stretched
They're
beyond
stretched.
limits right now. So you've got to have patience with that. But
Yeah.
you need to take care of this upfront and during the beginning of the listing or before the listing, because if it's not, you're delaying your closings. Guys,
Right.
we don't want to delay closings. We're trying to give the seller the best experience. And all this can delay closings. So you need to recommend a home inspection. And with that, a certificate, elevation certificate, if you need one, if you're on the water, and maybe a 4-point inspection, because that buyer is going to need a 4-point inspection anyway for their insurance company. So if your seller will get one done, it'll help this house sell much faster. The 4 points only run about $125, $150. It's not a lot of money on top of the regular home inspection.
Yeah, homes that are 30 years and older, they have to have the 4-point. There's no way around it for insurance.
That's true.
There's
Yeah,
just no
the
way.
insurance companies are requiring that. They're getting a
And
lot
the
of time.
termite. And your termite for your VA loans.
That's right. You've got to recommend that they complete all the repairs on the home inspections and have the report and list of repairs and items ready for the buyers. They really need to do that. If they can't, at least the home inspection will tell the buyer what needs to be done, and they'll know, and everything is clear. I believe in clarity on these contracts and on these offers, and nothing hidden, because you get in trouble when you try and hide stuff. So everything needs to be out up front on all this stuff. So it's got to be, everything obviously has to be in the seller's reports and everything, for the buyers. But the home inspections, I can't even stress enough how important these are. And if you're on the buyer side, just a side note, if you have a buyer that says, I don't need home inspection, before you slap them, tell them, look, I need you to sign an addendum here that says, you're not holding me responsible. I've told you need a home inspection. Everyone needs a home inspection. I don't care if they're a contractor.
Absolutely.
Inspectors look for
Absolutely.
things,
Because what'll happen is if you don't get that waiver in writing and there's a problem later, guess what the buyers like to do? They like to file complaints with the DPPR and they want to say, my agent told me I didn't need an inspection, even though you didn't say that.
Yep.
It can go like that. You don't want that.
You can. So we're going to hit on some of the seller's objections. We hit on this before you list, because we know you're going to have these. But guess what happens after you list? The house is sitting on the market for 2 months at the overpriced price everybody agreed on, and you already told the seller, we'll try it your way, but don't yell at me for a month. And now it's not selling. So pricing these homes, setting these, helping these sellers overcome these objections with these sellers is upfront, letting them know, I know you want the higher price, we'll try it for a minute, but you're gonna sign, as we list the house, automatic price reduction every 2 weeks. We used to do that in 2005 and 6. And we need to get back to that because everybody's pushing prices right now. But having those scheduled price reductions will save you heartache and headache, and the seller will be very clear on what he needs to do to get his house sold. Length of time on the market in today's market, does anything last more than 2 weeks?
Not
No.
really. Nope.
Only if they're overpriced. That's it, or in bad condition. So servicing this listing is you're having to deal with all this as you're going through the listing with your seller. And so being very clear on all this up front and reminding them as you're going through, we've talked about this, we've discussed this. I know you wanted to try it at the higher price. You need to sell it by next month, though. Let's bring that price down.
And the cost to
Commissions.
carry, we explained to them the cost to carry for the utilities,
Yes.
for the insurance,
Thank
the
you.
alarm, the HOA or the condo association, your taxes, all of that matters. If they say, well, I don't have a mortgage, it doesn't matter. I'm like, well, actually it does, because here's what it's costing you to carry for each month. And wouldn't you like to take that money and be able to plan towards a nice vacation? Or maybe you want to buy a boat, or
Yep.
maybe you want to get a new car. Well, that $1,000 a month that you're spending, we can get this done a whole lot quicker, and you can get on and get in that boat or that car or that vacation.
Yeah. That's true. And I will tell you that cost to carry is going to cut into their profitability after 2 months, 3 months
Yes.
on what they're thinking. And they don't even think about that at the time. They really don't think about their cost to carry. They think, oh, we're going to sell it right away and we're going to close in 2 weeks. Well, that never happens unless we have cash. Sometimes
So
it
that's
happens.
true. And on closings, we need to have 45 days out, because with TRID and everything else, it's difficult to get that closed sooner. We're in the holidays. Now, if it's cash, we can get it done a little faster, but you don't want to do closings on Friday because everybody and their mother's doing it on Friday. And guess what? Mr. Buyer has his truck all packed up and he wants to get into the house over the weekend. Guess what's going to happen?
You won't be able
Friday,
to.
I close. Saturday, Sunday, he's going to have to stay with mom and dad or Hotel 8. Not going to be happy.
Yep. So, and we do have the end of the year coming up. I'm glad you brought that up, Kat, because at the end of the year, what happens the last day of the year, the 31st, everybody wants to close. So don't do that to yourselves. If you still got time and you're trying to set up a closing now, do it for the 26th, 27th,
Yes.
22nd,
21st,
don't do it for the last day. It may not happen.
next week.
Next week, yeah, 2 weeks. So commissions, everybody's talking about commissions. We've always had problems with commissions. This is nothing new. We've had in 2003, 4, and 5, we had discounters out there doing 2%, 2%, 1% on each side. They didn't stay in business, obviously. But we have always had people trying to undercut. But really, when you're talking commissions, what are they, what do they want us to take out? We do so much for these sellers. And what are they getting for discounted commissions? Not much. No service. Things going into MLS and 3 other sites, and that's it. We're in over 800 sites. We're full service. We do a lot more. But remember, it's only an objection. People have to throw it out there because I got to try and save some money somewhere. So let's take it off the agent.
Sure.
It's an objection. And, I love how Jeff responds to this. All right, will you cut your commissions? No. Next question. That's Jeff's response.
And all the marketing that we offer, that's both here and abroad, international marketing, and each one of our sites has a translator. So if you need somebody from Russia, somebody from China, somebody from Spain, somebody from Peru, somebody from Argentina, and so on, German, French, it's there. Not all brokerages offer that extensive service.
Most don't. Yeah, most don't. Especially your discount ones, the 100% commission companies, they're undercutting everybody right now because that's all they can do. They can't offer these sellers anything more.
They don't offer any of those services. They just sign in the yard, you're in the MLS, bye-bye. Maybe
Yeah.
Zillow.
And are they trained? No.
Nope.
Our biggest issues right now are untrained agents on the other side, our third ropes. And we have to be patient with them and help train them because they haven't had any real training at all.
No.
So, that is one of the things that Kat and I deal with on a continuous basis.
Every day.
every day. So just remember, commissions are only an objection, and they're gonna say, well, I gotta cut my price on my house. You need to cut your commission. Well, the answer is, I'm already cutting my commission because your price on your house, no, I'm not getting as much commission because we're cutting the price on your house.
Right,
So we are already cutting our commission there,
right.
right? That's a good response back.
It's the truth.
Cleaning. Not everybody's idea of cleaning is the same. Just putting it politely. You know, these houses today, you know, even though houses are selling fast, the best price, the best maintained homes and the cleanest homes sell first, period. Anything else other than that, it's going to take longer and you're going to get less money. So, you know, helping these sellers know what they've got to deal with. You know, if they've got a new home from 2017, 18, 19, they just have to maintain it up and clean it up and get a house cleaner in there maybe. But your older homes need some deep cleaning. And they need to be straightened up and repaired. And I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but this is some of the biggest objections you're going to get when you're servicing the seller. This is ongoing, guys. This doesn't stop after you sign that listing contract. This is ongoing hand-holding.
And I've always kept in my phone a speed dial list of really good people that I know that are reputable, that the seller can talk to and interview on their own time to pick to do the cleaning of that house. There isn't a listing that I've ever put up that didn't get professionally cleaned.
Yeah. Most sellers don't think they have to do the repairs. Well, I'll just sell it as is.
No.
The problem with selling it as is, now you're telling the world that you'll take a lot less for the house because you haven't taken care of it. It's
Pretty
true.
much.
True.
Pretty much.
So it's to their best interest to do some stuff. Permits we talked about. They don't want signage. We have this on occasion. I don't want a sign in my yard. I don't want my neighbors to know I'm selling. I've heard this. Have you heard that?
Many
crazy.
times. Yes.
It's crazy. But you have to understand this is how one of the things we do to market a house. We have to have the signage.
Buyers
You know,
still drive through neighborhoods. They want to get a feel for the property. They can do a lot on the internet, but it's still a very personal, touching, feeling experience. They want to know where the house is. They want to see on the outside, does it look as good as it does in the pictures? Because as we well know, some pictures are better than others. They want to make sure that the house that they're in love with really does exist and look like that. So they'll drive by and they'll see the sign. Then they'll call their agent.
We need the signage. And for our own selfish sake, we get our buyers from our signage. We can double side our listings through our signage.
Yeah.
We can find more people if we've got good signs. Signage has always been a good thing for the industry. And because it is screaming out there, I am for sale, and that listing agent should be getting the buyer calls. And with our company, thank God, the lead router, all of our listing agents have the first opportunity to get their sign calls.
And sign writer, sure.
Yeah, put your sign writer, but you've got first opportunity to get your sign calls. They don't want a lockbox. They want you there for every showing. You've been through that. You've been through that. It's not good for you. It's not good for the seller, and the buyers won't stay in the house.
It's counterproductive, and you're going to lose time that you could be using marketing that house and doing prospecting. We'll get into that shortly. You don't want to lose that traction for your seller. And if you're opening up the house every single time there's a showing, you're losing valuable time. Your seller deserves better.
Yep. And to be honest with you, the buyer's agents, they don't want you there. The buyers will not stay in that house very long if they know you're there. That is true.
Yeah.
They will go in, they'll breeze around, they'll feel comfortable, and they'll leave.
Yeah, they want to be able to speak their mind. They want to be able to say, okay, I really love this, but I'm just not so sure about this kitchen, without somebody around the corner with a frown going.
Yeah. Yeah. So, they want to be able to really spend time, feel the house, they need to be in that house for a while to feel like a home to them. Because how do people buy? They buy on emotions first.
They do.
That's it.
They
and
really
then secondly, they justify with logic, but they buy on emotions. And
the
they've got
longer they spend in that house, the more likely that's going to be the one that makes that purchase. And when they walk in and out quickly, more often than not, they're not buying.
They're not buying. So here's the lock boxes. I see on occasion people still trying to use little push button lock boxes or stuff. Please don't do that to your seller. It's not secure. For one. You can't track who's been in there because on occasion, buyer's agents will run around and not call you beforehand. At least you'll know who's been in there because it's electronic and computerized. So you need to be using lock boxes, electronic lock boxes on every listing, period.
And it allows you to follow up with every single one of the showings to get feedback that they may be hesitant because they don't have to leave feedback. It's a courtesy to us that they do. Is
Yeah.
it appreciated? Do we want it? Absolutely. Is it required? No, they don't have to unless the buyer's comfortable with it and the buyer can tell the agent, this is what I want you to tell them. I don't want you to tell them that I think the house is haunted, but that the house is dark. Things like
Yeah.
that. So it gives you an opportunity to get not only to get feedback, but to get an idea if there's an offer coming and those type of things. And you start building a relationship. You also can see how long the person was in the house by the length of time that they spent in there. Those are all things that you're going to be able to convey to your seller later. This is all feedback. It's all part of the process.
And it's all communication with the seller. And the whole theme of this whole little hour here is communication with the seller on an ongoing basis. It's not just a once a week phone call. And I've come to the slide now that says you need to do at least a weekly follow-up phone call. But you should be communicating.
Yes.
Yeah. Golden Ruler reports, we just got reinstated again. I love those. Those get sent out to your sellers every 2 weeks. You are copied on them, and you should be calling your seller with that. Let them know how many people are looking at their houses online. And when he's saying, well, my house hasn't been shown, I've only had 2 people in here, but he's had 2,000 people online looking at it, you can show him exactly where they're coming from and how many people are really looking at it, and if you've had any inquiries. I love Golden Ruler for that fact. It puts a seller's mind at ease that, oh, people are looking at my house. It's also a great tool to use for price reductions.
Absolutely, hands down. Because if you start seeing the numbers dip down, 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 you have the proof. I'm a big fact person. I'm a big data person, and a lot of my sellers are too. Most of the sellers are actually. It's numbers. They want to see the numbers. This
Right.
helps you show the numbers so that it's not you being subjective saying, well, yeah, it's such a nice house, but here's the numbers.
Yeah.
This
that's
allows
right.
you to have the objectivity to stand back and say, this is where we're at. This is what we need to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what are the other things we do for our sellers, guys? Some of this goes above and beyond, but I will tell you, when you start doing this stuff that you think I shouldn't be doing, you will be doing if you really want to take great care of your clients, your sellers. You're going to help them contact trades. Get the trades lined up for them. Have them pick the trades, but help them get them lined up. You're going to help them with movers. We've got moving companies that we got discounts. We got pods we get discounts with. You can help them with that. Contact cleaning companies. If you notice your house is a little dirty, it's like, I know a couple of great cleaning companies that can come in here and make your house sparkle. Help them with that. Help them with the utility company information. If they've been in the house a long time, they have no idea how to disconnect their water, their electric, and anything else half the time. They know who they pay, but they don't know how to get it done.
Absolutely.
We do have utility helpers with that we do give our clients and help them with. But we're talking about helping the seller as we go through the process. And, we're talking about constant communications, actually. Showcasing your home through professional photography, guys. I can't even express this enough. You got to have professional photography. This is a great little camera for fun. And
Yeah.
it does take amazing pictures. This is not to take pictures of your house,
Or
to save
selfie.
some money.
Yeah.
Photography is your first line of marketing, period, on the internet. And if you got great pictures, we call it stickiness on the internet. People will stay in and look at your pictures longer
Yes.
and look at that house and spend more time if your pictures are great. I don't mean good, I mean great.
Yeah. Outstanding.
Yeah. With COVID, we now are doing 360 virtual tours. Those are amazing. I love those. You can look up, you can look at the ceiling, look down at the floors, look all the way around. You need to, yes, pay for those. I'm sorry. It's not a little bit of money that's really going to help you sell that house a lot faster.
Fraction.
Yeah.
Especially for your international buyers, especially with the aerial photography with drones. My condo went under contract because of that, because of the area tour that was done that she talked about.
Yeah.
Every market, the stores, because Sarasota downtown is a hot market. How are you going to get somebody to buy your condo over the other 999 ones that are out there, or St. Pete, or Tampa? Condos are very tough. Townhouses are tough. So how do you do it? The virtual tours, the aerial photography, it will seal the deal. Your international buyers especially want to be able to see that. Not to dismiss your local buyers, but we have a lot of European buyers buying over here. They expect to see that. And if they don't, they're going to just pass over your property. It's just going to sit there.
Absolutely.
That brings the community to life, because remember what we're doing. We're selling community lifestyles. And if you don't take the time to do that and have subtitles under there for what each one of these things are, walk them through all the way to the beach. You won't regret it. Yes, it's a lot of work up front, but you'll get it sold faster and you'll get the price that the seller wants.
Do you think this is going to give the seller peace of mind too, that you've done this? He will love you forever.
Oh, they appreciate it dearly. And sometimes they want it as a souvenir. Sometimes there's been a death in the family and the spouse would like to have the photos that you put together of that property in a memory book. I've done that on so many occasions for widows and widowers. It meant so much to them. So that's a near and dear to my heart, and something to think about, because a lot of times when people are listing, it's been a divorce, there's been a death or a job loss, or they're upgrading or they're downsizing. So when those tragedies come in, you can make something bittersweet into a beautiful experience for them. One of the listings that I had, there was in the backyard, there was a bench that was actually bolted into the ground. We couldn't get it up. And it had a heart carved in there and their initials in there. They had lived in that house for 75 years.
Oh my.
I got a picture of that bench because it resonated with me. And that meant more to her. I get chills thinking about it. Meant more to her than any other photos, because she'll never get to see that again.
Absolutely. I mean, this is incredible stuff. We live in Tampa Bay. What do we have around us? A lot of water. A lot of water. The aerials, even in Sun City Center, we have a lot of lakes here, a lot of ponds. We have a lot of water.
You do.
You need to showcase the water. People move to Tampa for one reason, for the bay and for the water and for the, and everything else here. But when you're showing aerials over Apollo Beach, over the beaches on the in St. Pete and stuff, I mean, that will create major stickiness of them watching and looking at your pictures online.
Yeah.
Most agents won't do this because guess what? It costs a little money. But this is the best investment.
Big deal. And you write it off your taxes. It's all advertising expenses. Come on.
And it's investment in your seller. It's an investment in your business.
Yes.
You know,
and you'll get repeat business for making the extra step. This is how we do it.
Absolutely. So Ken, I'm going to have you talk about reverse prospecting, because you are the queen. You taught half my office how to do reverse prospecting.
I love reverse prospecting because it gives you a great feel for what's going on in the market. The easiest thing with reverse prospecting is when you pull up your listing, you're going to go to the very bottom. You're going to click on highlight reverse prospecting. It's at the very bottom of the MLS when you pull up your listing. And then what's going to come up is a gazillion names. And sometimes you'll see little hearts, smileys, and that sort of thing. And what you're going to do is you're going to be able to email each one of those agents that their client is interested in this property. Now, these agents may not even know the client's interested in the property because they have their clients on an automated mailing list. So your job is to get in front of that agent and say, hey, look, I'm going to have an open house. Would you like to come see it before I do the open house? You know, it's only been on the market a couple of days. I'm getting a lot of activity. When was your client like to see it? You'll be able to send over information, let's say a feature sheet that they overlooked that's in the MLS, because sometimes buyers agents are so busy because they're showing a gazillion houses to a gazillion different buyers. Any little step you can do to make their job easier makes you shine, you build a relationship, and that's going to be the one that's going to bring you an offer. If you can't get a buyer yourself, or for whatever reason your buyer isn't ready to make that purchase, either way, your job is to get that home sold, whether you double-sided or a co-broke. And I believe the statistics show 65% of homes that are sold are usually by co-broke. And how do you get in front of the co-broke? It's not just putting a sign in the yard. It's not just the MLS. It's a lot of communication and going behind the scenes, going behind reverse prospecting and clicking it on and email. And you can cut and paste a email that you want to send to everybody for consistency. I recommend that, because in that way it doesn't show favoritism that you like this particular agent more than that agent or anything like that. So by doing this, it does produce a wonderful list of agents that want to see your property. And then in turn, you're able to tell your seller, by the way, I talked to 350 agents this week that are interested in your property. I'm like, And they're like, how can that be? And I had that question thrown at me on a listing out here. And I showed the reverse prospecting and I showed them all the emails because I had a very tough client who was more data and more analytical than myself. He was a challenge, but I could put my money where my mouth is and show the results. I will tell you that gentleman still refers me a lot of business. And I closed his house last year. There isn't a day that goes by that somebody hasn't talked to this particular man. And I always smile because I'm like, oh yes, I know who that is. Da, 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 da. So reverse prospecting gets you the business, not only to get it sold, but it gives you the additional credibility to your seller. It shows them what you're doing in addition to everything else that you're doing.
Absolutely. So now we're going to roll into social media.
Ah, we love that.
Massive exposure through automated postings nationally and internationally on many social platforms. If you're not doing this for your listings, seriously,
It's so
spending
easy.
time on social media, posting your listings, talking about your listings, you're missing the boat.
It's so easy to do this. If you go
It
into
is.
your realtor.com account as an agent, all your listings are there. Guess what? There's a spot where it says send, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, all of them. You can do it. And it takes 3 seconds. You cut the link, you pop it into your Facebook account, your business Facebook account. Once it comes up, you can delete the actual thing that you pasted in there and you put a description in there and you send it. You can also have boosting platforms on any of these social medias just about where you can boost your listing on it.
Yeah, for
Pinterest,
pennies. Yeah, it's not very expensive at all.
it's not. For $10, you can have it blasted out for a solid week.
Yeah.
Or you can do it yourself. If you have multiple listings, you can do it. You can pick times. This is part of your schedule that you're going to have as an agent for marketing and for your other skill sets that you're going to be working on for every day. You can do this twice a week, 3 times a week. I always found it's more effective to do it on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Mondays doesn't get as much traction. People are tired from the workday. Tuesdays start to pick up a little bit, but by Wednesday, they're out there looking, and it's usually in the evenings. So that's when you want to do it. And you just track it. You can track it on your spreadsheet. You can see how much hits you get. It'll tell you how
Absolutely.
many responses you
Absolutely.
get.
So open house system. They wanted us to talk about that because what you can do while you're sitting in your open houses is do your social media posting, right? You can do all that. We do have a great
The
system.
open house.
Yeah. So with your seller, you need to explain this open house system that we have because they'll love it if they'll allow us. I know with COVID, a lot of sellers don't want to have open houses. I'm fine with that. We have to do what the seller wants, but if they're allowing us to, or if it's a vacant listing, then we can. Sellers need to be gone. But our system is you send it to listings at c21be.com and they send it over 800 platforms for you ahead of time. And guys, this is marketing for you and it's getting that house out there ahead of time to let all these people that are cruising the internet to see that your house is being opened on a certain day. This needs to be done. You need to hand deliver personal invitations to the neighborhood the day before. Personal invitations. You're invited to my open house. I know they're the looky-loos and you're going to hear that, but all those looky-loos do know people that want to move here. You know, so it's a great time to spend to door knock the neighborhood. Post
And
all
on that note, I wanted to jump in real quick.
Sure.
Also, don't overlook the HOA community that you're in, that you're doing the open house. You can post it on the bulletin board. If it's a gated community, make nice with the gatekeepers out there. Have them get to know them, bring them food. Yes, people like food. Bring them food with the open house. Guess what? They'll let you do that. They'll let you do the open house as long as they know who's coming or they got an idea how many people are coming. There's ways to work around challenging situations. There's businesses in the area that you market yourself with, or you might get your hair done or whatever it is, you shop. Make sure you get it in over there. Sometimes they'll put it up in the windows. My dry cleaners put it up in their windows all the time. My hairstylist puts it up in their windows. All our listings over here in Sarasota, they're getting sold quicker. My agents don't even know I do this. I take a stack of them. I go to all my businesses around here. I hand them out. Guess what? They got more people at the open house. Think outside the
Absolutely.
box.
Absolutely. So if you're going to do open houses, remember COVID. Have face masks, have additional ones available to hand out. Use hand sanitizer, have it there. Have gloves there to give out. Make sure the seller is gone during that time if it's occupied. And then wipe down everything, before they come back. Please do that. Never let anyone in the open house without getting all of their information because of
Yes.
COVID, for your
Yes.
safety, for the seller's safety and security. Never
If it
let
doesn't
anybody
feel
in that
right, don't let them
house.
in. If they
Yeah,
feel
if they're not
creepy,
gonna give you, if they're not gonna give you any information, say bye-bye.
Yeah.
And, you don't have to be rude like me, but you can, please let them know if this was your home, wouldn't you want to know who's in your house? We need to know. Sellers requiring it, so please do that for us.
Yeah.
Here are the COVID guidelines. We're not going to go through this whole thing because y'all have heard it a lot. And I will send out this slide too if you want me to. But the reality is we have to make sure everyone is protected. We're protected. The people that are coming in the door are protected, and our sellers are protected. And we got great guidelines. Don't show property to somebody who doesn't feel well. Do not show property. Don't be there if you don't feel well. Risk cannot be completely eliminated. That's a true statement. We have people getting COVID that have no symptoms.
right.
Be very careful. So make sure you follow all the protocol. What do top agents do for the sellers? They give extraordinary service every time. That's it.
Consistency.
That's it. They do. Because they're focused on the seller, on their needs, on the needs of what's happening to them. They're communicating, they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. Their focus is on that seller. We are here for your finest real estate experience guaranteed. That has been our tagline since probably Craig started the company. It's true. Yes, we do give a money back guarantee. If you don't know about it, get with your managers because we do have money back guarantee. No, we're not going to give the sale price back. It's a service guarantee. But I will tell you, we are the only brokerage I know of in the United States that offers a money back guarantee, guys.
True.
And it keeps us to higher standards. It's going to keep you to a higher standard. You want to be known and that you do give great service. That's what our business is based on. It's based on relationships and service. And without that, you're not going to make money. You're not.
No.
So if you take great care of your sellers, they will take great care of you through the lifetime for referrals and your new business coming in from them.
Very true.
Each client is worth $134,000 in their lifetime to you in commissions.
Absolutely.
So, well, Craig jumped in. I thought he was going to jump in and say the last part. So, hey, Jeff.
Hey,
Craig.
how you doing?
Hey, Jeff. Hey,
Yes.
Craig.
Great class.
Thanks.
Lots of great value in there. I think we're having, this is a lot of information, a lot of content pushing out
A lot of
there,
information.
but I love it. And we can start to feel the brains melting.
They are. We used to see them, Jeff. They used to be in front of us. We used to see their little brains melting by the second per
That's true.
day. So we know.
Well, I think it's clear I think it should be abundantly clear to everybody how much effort and care we take to make sure as your business partners we're bringing some value to you and making sure that you bring the best A game to your customers because they're our customers collectively. And then to get that $130,000 of your lifetime value out of every customer, you got to do the things that Deb and Kat are talking about and build the connections and do the VAK and build the trust and build the rapport. And everything builds on it. You can't just pick and choose, guys. If this is going to be your career, everything culminates into one.
Yeah,
And
it does. Yeah.
it's awesome.
It'll be the best career you ever had. I can tell you
Yeah.
hands down. You will not regret a single day. I know I can speak for Deb, and when I say this myself, as well as Jeff and Craig, there is a morning that we get up that we say, oh my God, we don't want to come to work. No, we're actually very excited because we make dreams come true, guys. We are able to do things that no other business gets to do.
That's true.
And who would not be happy? Who would not want to do this?
That's right.
Our agents inspire us on a daily basis to sit here and watch y'all grow on a daily basis and watch you take a small little business and explode in a year to 2 years where you're making money that you never even thought you'd make. And it happens to us all the time to watch you guys. So, our wish and our hope for you for the new year is that you really do have an incredible journey in real estate and make the money you want to make.
Yes. So that wraps up. Very great job, ladies. Thank you very much. I mean, we've got an amazing team. Craig and I were just talking about that earlier about we're very fortunate to have the depth and the breadth of the leadership and assets and skill and years and experience that we have. So that's what we have. So today, let's see what we've recapped already. So day one was a lot about mindset. and just getting mentally prepared to get this business and make sure Q1 is the best level you've ever reached in your career. That makes you happy. Today was all about what to do with sellers and how to find them, the exact step-by-step process on what to do with them to make sure we deliver that finest real estate experience Deb was just talking about and making them happy. And tomorrow, it's going to culminate into the buyer side of the business because, Craig, what percentage are we listings versus buyers?
You're muted.
We're like 54% buyers, 46% sellers.
So, I mean, we spent a lot of time focusing on the listing side because every listing brings buyers. But in
We'd
essence,
prefer to be 70% listings sold and 30% buyers.
yeah. But I think with this group, that's going to change because if you put your effort on listings, the buyers are going to come. So I think that's what everybody's starting to see that. And every listing brings 2 or 3 transactions as a result of it. So tomorrow, let's recap what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We've got Joe and I are going to start the morning off with talking about how to speak the financial language with buyers and really kind of repositioning their mind about buying payments versus price and how working with the lenders is really an important aspect to get them on the team. And then that's 11 to 12, we're going to convert more buyers, building value and trust during the home buying process. 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock is the actual buyer process, turning lookers into buyers like we did today with sellers. We're going to do tomorrow with buyers, a step-by-step guide to make sure that you just fire your checklist off to make sure that you do the best job with that. And then the perfect contract, Craig and I are going to have a lot of fun with this one, like how to write the perfect contract. Because how many of you have been writing offers and you've lost them and you got beat out? And how many people in the buyer market right now are frustrated because they've tried to buy houses and they keep getting beat out? So we're going to teach you how to do that the right way. And then dealing with multiple offers. That's what we're going to be doing from 3 to 4 tomorrow, and how to negotiate and leverage yourself to make sure that we win more times than not on that one. And then now what do we do with buyers? Kind of like what we just did with sellers. And we'll wrap up with that tomorrow. And then we'll do another recap on what we did, everything at the end of the day. And then we will all rest our vocal cords for a moment. Then we do it again the next morning with Team Huddle. So
Well, I want to comment on this. I mean, we take this, I mean, this has been an industry for us for almost 30 years now.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of fly-by-nights that come in and think it's really easy, and it's not. And we're not telling you there's an easy path to follow. You have to work, and we're showing you the right ways to do it. But the rewards are out of this world when you get it down. So just understand, if you're new, it takes time to get the practice in, but put the practice time in. It'll make all the difference, and you'll skyrocket quickly rather than taking years and years and years and years to get going.
And I was talking to somebody earlier today about, like, even if you wanted to do 4 or 5 deals, run your business like a business and do them all in January, like you say, Craig, right?
Right.
Just
If
get
you
them
want to do
done.
5 deals a year, do them in January, take the rest of the year off.
Right. But still run your business like a business and then just have fun with it. So that's the thing. Because guys, remember, you owe it to yourself and to your colleagues to bring this A-game professionalism to everybody you meet, because it is a small world. And there'll be your client in Clearwater has a cousin in Orlando who's got a cousin in Sarasota who's got a friend in Anna Maria who also has a guy in Treasure Island who knows somebody on Davis Island and South Tampa and Dunedin and Lakeland and now Ocala and soon West Palm, Miami and Jacksonville and Orlando and Atlanta and all the stuff that's coming. So when we bring this experience level to every one of our customers, you're doing it for the greater good of everybody, from the brand perspective, from the brokerage perspective, and just for your own personal ability to sleep at night, just knowing that you did your best. And all you got to do is follow the system, guys. There's no guesswork in this. It's just do it. Follow the process.
Yep.
So that is the message.
Good message.
Well, we're honored that you guys are sticking around and listening to what we have to say. So I hope
Yeah,
it makes an impact.
And then we'd love any comments, feedback, anything you guys have. We'll get some more tomorrow from you guys, but we want to thank you for your attention today. And hope you're getting some great value and content out of what we're doing for you. So that is our goal and wish, and hope everybody has a wonderful night. And bright
Stay
and
warm.
early, 10 o'clock tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the morning, we'll be having another great day. Buyer specialty. So we'll knock it out tomorrow too, guys.
We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Have
Yeah.
a great night.
Have a
Thanks,
wonderful
everyone.
night.